Chapter 44-36. It was also the first time that Kang Shinmu was watching a competition at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Previously, when he was at Donghuang Yangwu College, he had seen the battles between Emperor Qin, Yu Tianchang, and others from Donghuang Yangwu College. I wonder, between Feng Ligei and Yu Tianchang, who is stronger? Kang Shinmu squinted his eyes and thought to himself. However, even if Feng Ligei was stronger than Yu Tianchang, it did not mean that Yu Tianchang was weaker than Feng Ligei. After all, 1 or 2 years had passed, and no one knew how strong Yu Tianchang was now. If he wanted to see Yu Tianchang's current strength, he would have to go near the crack in the void and see her battle with the void monsters. This was too dangerous for Kang Shinmu. At present, there was no need to go to the crack in the void to fight. At the very least, he had to cultivate the wind shadow flowing cloud flash to a higher level. At this moment, everyone in the field was looking forward to the second young lady Gu Yusheng, from the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts family. Gu Yusheng was said to have the same terrifying talent and strength as Feng Ligei. This time, she came to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy because she was recommended by the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts family so that she could obtain more cultivation resources in the Dragon Martial Arts Academy. This was basically a battle that everyone was looking forward to. The strongest genius from the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts family against the strongest genius from the former Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, Gu Yusheng, dressed in white, walked up from below the stage. Looking at her appearance, she was also a stunning beauty, but her expression was a little too cold, making people not have the slightest thought of approaching her. As expected, she is at the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor, and the 7th level of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. She is exactly the same as Feng Ligei. This was the first time that Kang Shinmu saw Gu Yusheng, and his expression changed slightly. If he had only seen 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang, he would have thought that the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts family was only at this level. However, after seeing Gu Yusheng, he realized that the Hidden Dragon Martial Arts family of Hakuin was indeed strong. This was clearly not the first time Gu Yusheng and Feng Ligei had met. Feng Ligei's expression was calm. Dressed in red, he appeared gentle and approachable. In Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, Feng Ligei was the genius student in the Dubhe district who was the easiest to talk to. The other students basically ignored him. On the other hand, although Feng Ligei was the strongest and the most talented, he was still the kinder person. Neither of them spoke. Principal Yu Yaji was still in charge of the academy competition. It was said that the inter-academy tournament of the 4 great dragon martial academies would be held at the same time. However, due to the appearance of the spatial crack this time around, there had to be at least 2 deans of the 4 great dragon martial academies guarding the spatial crack. Therefore, Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy and the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy were holding the academy tournament, while the East Imperial Academy and the South the Arch Academy's academy tournament had been postponed. However, this did not affect the students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy much. Without the supervision of a super mystical dragon, there might not be anyone who could hold the fort in such an inter-academy tournament. One had to know that Feng Ligei and Gu Yusheng were powerful beings who could even defeat some of the Dragon Emperor mentors. Their level was not just any ordinary level. Without the super mystical dragon to hold the line, it was very likely that accidents would occur during the fight, and that would be irreparable. Soon, with Principal Yu Yaji's announcement, the battle officially began. Be it Feng Ligei or Gu Yusheng, their techniques were extremely powerful. Moreover, they had cultivated the pinnacle of the advanced source dragon martial arts technique, and more than one. With their techniques, if Kang Shinmu were to be in front of them now, he would probably be killed in one move without the slightest possibility of struggling. After all, they were existences at the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor. At the level of the Dragon Emperor, every increase in level was equivalent to an increase in one's ability. In addition, Gu Yusheng and Feng Ligei were already the best in the same level. Even if they were to face an opponent at the level of the Dragon Emperor, they would be able to win easily. This was the highest combat ability of the students of the Dragon Martial Academy. Kang Shinmu watched the battle carefully, almost unable to take his eyes off it. After all, he would reach this level one day. First, he would watch Feng Ligay and Gu Yusheng's battle techniques, and then study them a little. It would definitely be very beneficial to him. The two girls' abilities were about the same, but it could be seen that in terms of actual combat experience, Feng Ligay was almost completely superior to Gu Yusheng. Perhaps the dragon martial artists of the hidden dragon martial artist families did not have as many training opportunities as the students of the Dragon Martial Academy. Not only did they not have training opportunities, but they also could not go to the Beast Abyss. Therefore, although their cultivation levels were not weak, their actual combat ability was still on the weaker side. Everyone in the surroundings was paying attention to the battle between the strongest students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, especially the students from the reclusive Dragon Martial Artist clans and the Dragon Martial Artist students who had recently been selected from the Dragon Emperor Nation. However, they soon realized that Gu Yusheng was actually at a disadvantage, and their expressions did not look too good. This was the first time the new and old students had clashed, but it seemed that the new students were no match for the old students. This was completely out of everyone's expectations, including 9th young Master Gu. This fellow had originally thought that if his sister could obtain the title of the top student, his authority in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy would greatly increase in the future. However, from the looks of it now, his sister Gu Yusheng was really no match for Feng Ligay. The Dragon Martial Academy is indeed the Dragon Martial Academy. Even 9th young Master Gu, young Master Liang, and the rest felt emotional. However, although they were emotional, they still thought that the genius from the hidden dragon martial artist families was the strongest. As for Gu Yusheng being no match for Feng Ligay, it was entirely because she had just arrived at the Dragon Martial Academy and was not familiar with the place yet. Moreover, she was indeed lacking in actual combat experience. If she trained more in the future, she would definitely be able to surpass the old students of the Dragon Martial Academy. Regardless of what they thought, the first battle between the new and old students ended very quickly. The difference in actual combat experience caused Gu Yusheng to retreat step by step, and she was soon forced to admit defeat. However, Gu Yusheng was not discouraged, and her expression was still extremely cold. After Feng Ligay admitted defeat, she immediately decided to challenge another student from the Dubhe district. In order to take care of the new students of the Dragon Martial Academy, each of them had 3 chances to challenge someone. These 3 chances would allow them to find a suitable location for themselves. There was no suspense in the next battle. Although Gu Yusheng's combat experience was slightly less abundant, her foundation was still there. The opponent she chose was only the blood essence of the 3rd level of the Dragon Emperor Kingdom, and his ability was only at the 6th level of the Rebirth Tribulation state. There was still a huge gap between him and Feng Ligay. Chapter 44-37. The battles over the next few days were relatively normal, and no one paid much attention to them. After all, geniuses from the hidden dragon clan like Gu Yusheng were rare. Apart from Gu Yusheng, there was only one other woman who had joined Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Basically, she had challenged the weakest male student in the Tianshu district and successfully entered the Tianshu district. But in reality, this woman's strength was far inferior to Gu Yusheng and Feng Ligay. If it weren't for the expansion of the Tianshu district from 3 to 9 people, she definitely wouldn't have been able to enter. Apart from Gu Yusheng and this woman, the other new students from the Hidden Dragon clan weren't particularly strong. Basically, they could only reach the standard of the Tianji district and the Migres district. These new students from the Hidden Dragon clan were Kang Shinmu's opponents. Among them was young Master Gujiao. In the next 2 days, the candidates for the Tianshu district were decided, and then the 21 candidates for the Tianxian district were decided. On the 3rd day, the candidates for the Tianji district were decided. And this was Kang Shinmu's goal. The Tianji district could be said to be the middle-level students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. There was a large number of Dragon Martial Arts Academy students in this area. In particular, the points awarded from the experience with the void beasts had greatly improved many people's cultivation. Kang Shinmu had originally thought that he would be able to enter the Tianji district easily, but now he wasn't so sure. On one hand, there were still a few strong people among the students from the Hidden Dragon clan. On the other hand, the other old students had also greatly improved after the experience with the void beasts. Although their improvement definitely couldn't compare to Kang Shinmu's breakthrough, it was obvious that no one was standing still. Some students were originally stronger than Kang Shinmu, and by a lot. Now that they had improved, they might be able to defeat the current Kang Shinmu. The Tianji district trial begins. First, the previous Migres district students will fill in the spots, and then the challenges will begin. Dean Yuyaji soon announced the start of the Fekta region trial. Yuyaji secretly looked at Kang Shinmu. She originally thought that Kang Shinmu was going to challenge Tian Xian, but she found that Kang Shinmu didn't seem to be confident. He didn't make a move during the Tian Xian challenge yesterday. In fact, it was not that Kang Shinmu couldn't beat anyone in the Jade district, but he felt that if he wanted to beat an opponent in the Jade district, he would have to use some trump cards, and these trump cards were not necessary to be used normally. Most importantly, he did not want to go to Tian Xian district yet. Being able to dominate the Fekta district was not bad at all. Soon, 6 hours of spectating and waiting had passed, and it was already afternoon. The Fekta Zone Challenge phase was about to begin. This was only the preliminary confirmation of the Fekta region spots. Only after the afternoon's worth of challenges would the final 27 spots in the Fekta region be decided. I challenged Qian Bing. When the challenge phase began, Kang Shinmu did not hesitate at all. He directly went up the stage, intending to challenge an old student. This Qian Bing, nicknamed White Scorpion, was said to have secretly harmed many dragon martial artist students. Although no one was killed, the dragon martial artist students who were harmed suffered heavy losses. Kang Shinmu originally didn't know who he was going to challenge, but this White Scorpion Qian Bing had been secretly observing him since the beginning, which made him feel a little anxious. The first time he heard this name and nickname was when he went to war to train and killed the swift shadow meteor dragon. It was said that White Scorpion Qian Bing was a Migres district student at that time, but she was almost killed by the swift meteor dragon. But in the end, the swift meteor dragon was killed by Kang Shinmu alone. At that time, Kang Shinmu had just come to Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Arts Academy and was nominally a Yuheng district student. How could Qian Bing tolerate this? At that time, Xiao Yuhua reminded Kang Shinmu and asked Kang Shinmu to be a little more careful. But after that, Kang Shinmu either stayed in seclusion or trained with demons. As for breaking through to the next realm and returning to the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, Qian Bing naturally wouldn't find trouble with Kang Shinmu. So all this time, White Scorpion Qian Bing had probably been suppressing a bellyful of anger. This also caused White Scorpion Qian Bing to frequently look in Kang Shinmu's direction during the battle just now, as if provoking him to go up on stage. White Scorpion Qian Bing was originally a Migres district student, but now she had moved to the Fekta district. She had also achieved pretty good results during the last training with the demons in the void. Now that half a year had passed, she had improved considerably. The current Qian Bing had the first level of the Dragon Emperor's divine dragon blood essence and had reached the third level of the rebirth realm. From this aspect, it could be seen that she was many times stronger than Jiang Shenwu. But Kang Shinmu wasn't afraid. The current Kang Shinmu was several levels stronger than when he had been training with the demons. Even if Qian Bing had reached the Dragon Emperor dynasty and the third level of the rebirth realm, she was still not the limit that Kang Shinmu could deal with. At least, Kang Shinmu could easily devour the other party's power for his own use. That was enough. No matter what, this Qian Bing couldn't defeat Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu had such confidence. After shouting out his challenge target, he was arranged by Yuyaji to go up on the stage. All the surrounding dragon warriors sized him up with strange gazes. It was obvious that many of these dragon warriors didn't know Kang Shinmu. Only the old students were not surprised that Kang Shinmu stood up. However, they were still looking forward to it, and some of them were worried. After all, on the surface, Kang Shinmu only had the 6th level of the Dragon King Divine Dragon Blood Essence, and his cultivation was only at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. There was a difference of 5 levels of cultivation, and there was even a major realm between them. As for the grade of the divine dragon blood essence, the Dragon King was facing the Dragon Emperor. The disadvantage was too great. Although Kang Shinmu had created some miracles time and time again, but could Kang Shinmu really be a match for White Scorpion Qianbing? Seeing Kang Shinmu go up on stage, some of the new students from the Hidden World Dragon Warrior families were extremely surprised, and even started to mock him. The grand competition battles they had seen before were basically evenly matched. Even if there was a winner, it was not because of the realm of cultivation or the grade of the divine dragon's blood essence, but because of actual combat experience, innate talents, and so on. There had never been anyone like Kang Shinmu, who challenged his opponent in a situation where there was such a huge difference on the surface. Basically, it was just the strong challenging the weak, wanting to rise to a higher cultivation area. How could there be someone like Kang Shinmu? Very good, this Kang Shinmu is very courageous. Chapter 44-38. Kang Shinmu stepped onto the stage. I admire your courage. White Scorpion Qianbing was already waiting for Kang Shinmu on the stage. Her expression was cold, and she looked like a cold beauty. However, there was a hint of disdain in the depths of her eyes. She had long disliked Kang Shinmu. When Kang Shinmu killed the swift meteor dragon of Thunderbolt Dragon Country during the war, Qianbing couldn't even raise her head in front of her sisters. She had lost a lot of face. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't have the chance, she would have made a move against Jiang Shenwu long ago. In the end, she never imagined that Jiang Shenwu would actually dare to challenge her in the academy competition. This had truly exceeded her expectations, and it caused her to laugh coldly without end. She felt that Jiang Shenwu was truly audacious. Unfortunately, I'm not a man without brains. Kang Shinmu faced White Scorpion Qianbing and said calmly, let's begin. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into his black dragon form. The 500 Zhonglong Dragon King body burst out from the stage. White Scorpion Qianbing didn't hesitate at all. She transformed into a snow-white dragon. The dragon scales all over her body were covered with mysterious patterns. She looked like a vicious scorpion, and there was a sinister aura in between the patterns. Qianbing's dragon essence blood was inherited from the White Scorpion god's venomous dragon. This was why she was called the White Scorpion. Not only was the aura of the divine dragon's essence and blood sinister, but even her personality was as sinister as the White Scorpion. This was why many students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy were afraid of being associated with her. As the dragon forms of both sides appeared, a conflict was about to break out. Extreme cold poison cloud break. White Scorpion sneered. The dragon roared angrily, and a surge of reincarnation power erupted from the dragon's body. It condensed into a snow-white poisonous cloud that instantly spread toward Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu swung his dragon tail, followed by the wind shadow flowing cloud flash. This dragon martial technique exploded. Swoosh! In an instant, his black dragon form disappeared from the stage and appeared directly behind White Scorpion. It's the blade shadow flowing cloud flash. This scene was seen by many people in the surroundings, and they were all extremely shocked. The shadowy blade flowing cloud flash was one of the powerful dragon martial arts techniques of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. In order to successfully cultivate it, one must have a certain level of comprehension of the void. Otherwise, it would be impossible to successfully cultivate it. This was also a high-grade source dragon martial technique. It turns out that the reward that Kang Shinmu obtained from the demonic creatures was used to exchange for the blade's shadow flowing sunset flash. Then his cultivation speed is really quite fast. In a short few months, he has already successfully mastered the blade's shadow flowing sunset flash. Judging from his performance, although this move is only at the level of human level, it's not too far away from the level of earth level. Kang Shinmu dodged the opponent's extreme cold poison cloud break. The snow-white poison cloud, which carried an icy chill, directly bombarded the protective barrier of the arena, causing the entire arena to tremble. Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike. After Kang Shinmu dodged his opponent's attack, he took advantage of the fact that his opponent had not reacted and directly performed an offensive dragon martial arts technique on his opponent's back. At the same time, he also erupted the power of the Great Wilderness Demon Sweeping Sword and integrated it. The blood-red Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike condensed into 6 beams of dragon's breath. In an instant, they erupted from the mouths of the 6 surrounding black dragon shadows and swept towards Qianbing's snow-white divine dragon body. Qianbing had just performed her extreme cold poison cloud break. Although she realized that Kang Shinmu had dodged her attack, she really did not have a good defensive preparation. 9th Heaven Poison Cloud Barrier. In a hurry, Qianbing executed a mid-grade origin source dragon martial technique. A layer of snow-white poisonous cloud barrier extended from her divine dragon body and shielded her dragon body from the outside world. The 9th Heaven Poison Cloud Barrier, this middle-grade source dragon martial technique, had been cultivated by Qianbing to the peak of heaven level. Even if she performed it in a hurry, it had at least 70% defensive power. Even if Kang Shinmu used the power of the Great Wilderness Demon Sweeping Sword, he would not be able to break through her strong defense. After all, compared to Kang Shinmu, Qianbing's divine dragon blood essence was of the Dragon Emperor grade. Moreover, she had already reached the 3rd stage of the rebirth realm. With such a cultivation realm, in terms of basic strength, she was definitely much stronger than Kang Shinmu. The defensive dragon martial arts technique that she casually performed was not something that Kang Shinmu could easily break through. Moreover, when she broke through to the rebirth realm, her white scorpion god venomous dragon power already carried an extremely strong corrosive power. When this corrosive power came into contact with Kang Shinmu's attack, it was actually unstoppable. It completely corroded Kang Shinmu's Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike until it completely disappeared from the battlefield. Impressive. Kang Shinmu narrowed his eyes. This white scorpion god venomous dragon's divine dragon blood essence was indeed different from some of the powers that he had seen before. However, no one noticed that unknowingly, a lot of pitch-black devouring power had already spread out from Kang Shinmu's body. Moreover, it was the blood-red power of the dragon-scarred blood pendant. Under the cover of the dragon-scarred blood pendant's power, this devouring power was like a small snake that pierced through the void. Without any warning, it seeped into the opponent's white scorpion god venomous dragon power. Whether it was the 9 Heavens Poison Cloud Barrier or the extreme cold poison cloud break that she had previously used to attack the defensive barrier, they had all become Kang Shinmu's devouring targets. This power, Kang Shinmu could completely devour and use it for himself. You have the talent to counterattack. Unfortunately, before you use my power to counterattack, have you ever thought about the special characteristics of the white scorpion god venomous dragon? Seeing this, Qianbing did not panic at all. She sneered, the white scorpion god venomous dragon has absolute poison resistance. It can be said that it is impervious to all poisons. Because of this, the blood essence of our white scorpion god venomous dragon is the most suitable to increase the poison contained in one's power. Now, among the reincarnation power that I have unleashed, there are many poisons that originally did not belong to my talent. However, they exist within my power. I have the body of the white scorpion god venomous dragon, which is why I am immune to these poisons. As for you, even if you can use my power to counterattack, your body will be the first to bear the attack of these poisons. I know that you have cultivated a body-tempering dragon martial technique. However, I want to see if you can really withstand the power of my poison. Qianbing laughed coldly. She did not care about Kang Shinmu's actions. She immediately raised her hand, and the white poison cloud that filled the sky bloomed in an instant. It swept towards Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. Moreover, this time, the white poison cloud that filled the sky seemed to explode in all directions in the entire arena. Even if Kang Shinmu wanted to dodge, there was simply no place for him to do so. He could only face her crazy poison attack head-on. Poison? I wonder if the power of your poison can break through my divine dragon tyrant body technique. When Kang Shinmu heard Qian Bing's words, he did not care at all. His chaotic dragon body and divine dragon tyrant body technique had resistance to all elemental powers. Chapter 44-39. Kang Shinmu's innate ability of devouring, after fusing with the power of the Dragon Scar blood pendant, could devour the opponent's power for his own use. Most importantly, it relied on the strength of his divine dragon body. Therefore, after Kang Shinmu cultivated the divine dragon tyrant body art, he was able to devour energy and become stronger. In order for Kang Shinmu to devour his opponent's strength, he had to first harm his own divine dragon body. This was exactly as Qian Bing had thought. However, Kang Shinmu was completely unafraid of poison. When Qian Bing's white scorpion god's poison dragon's power completely erupted, Kang Shinmu's entire body was enveloped by his own blood-red devouring power, swallowing the white poison cloud that had spread to the surroundings. It's a pity that the white scorpion god poisonous dragon is immune to all poisons. Even if I devoured this power, I won't be able to threaten it at all. Kang Shinmu thought to himself. He felt that it was a little tricky. In the current situation, it was definitely impossible for Qian Bing to defeat him. After all, he had already devoured so much of the white scorpion god's poison dragon's power. His resistance towards poison had become even stronger than before. This Qian Bing would definitely not be able to hurt him. This was something Kang Shinmu was sure of. But conversely, he couldn't hurt Qian Bing. If it were any other opponent of the same level, Kang Shinmu would directly devour the opponent's power and then counterattack, most likely killing the opponent. However, he could not do it to Qian Bing. This was because Qian Bing's white scorpion god poison dragon was immune to all poisons. This immunity was even stronger than Kang Shinmu's. She was able to resist the poison and use it. Even if Kang Shinmu used this power to counterattack, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Qian Bing. The key was that this round was his challenge to Qian Bing. Therefore, he had to defeat Qian Bing. Otherwise, as long as Qian Bing did not lose, his challenge would not be considered a success, and he would not be able to replace Qian Bing and enter the Fecta zone. This is a little tricky. It seems like we can only fight a war of attrition. Kang Shinmu sighed. Originally, he did not intend to use this tactic. After all, it was too time-consuming. If he wanted to completely exhaust an opponent like Qian Bing, it would probably take 2 hours. Of course, this was the only way for Kang Shinmu now. Although it was difficult to fight like this, it was fine as long as they won. The Academy tournament did not allow the use of Dawn and the like, so Kang Shinmu was not anxious. Once Qian Bing's strength was exhausted, she would definitely not be able to block his attack. Even if his Void Dragon Raising Heaven Breaks attack power was not strong, it was enough to defeat Qian Bing, who did not have a defensive dragon martial skill. He would have to rely on the Dark Dragon's art of filth control. The Dark Dragon filth control art that Kang Shinmu cultivated could heal his injuries and replenish the energy he had expended. In terms of stamina, Kang Shinmu would definitely not lose to Qian Bing. Perhaps only Ran, who had cultivated the Dark Dragon filth mastery to the peak of the heaven rank, could compete with Kang Shinmu in terms of stamina. Next, Kang Shinmu mindlessly used Void Dragon Raises the Heavens. 6 black dragon phantoms continued to appear in the field, bursting out blood-red beams of light with the power of the great desolate demon sweeping sword, attacking Qian Bing. Qian Bing had no choice but to defend passively. She was also very uncomfortable now. This was because she realized that even though Kang Shinmu had devoured her poison power, he did not use it against her at all. It was as if he knew that she had a special poison resistance. However, if Kang Shinmu continued to exhaust her like this, could it be that he was confident that he could exhaust her to death? Qian Bing was very depressed. She didn't know how strong Kang Shinmu's recovery ability was, but she was sure that Kang Shinmu was a large tortoise. No matter what she did, her white scorpion god's poison dragon power couldn't corrode Kang Shinmu's body. The corrosive nature of the rebirth realm couldn't do anything to Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. Just how many body-refining dragon martial skills has this fellow cultivated? Qian Bing simply wanted to cry. If she couldn't do anything to Kang Shinmu, she could only ensure that she wouldn't be defeated. Fortunately, Kang Shinmu's current strength wasn't strong. The key was that the attack dragon martial skill he cultivated wasn't strong. It was impossible to kill Qian Bing with a mere void dragon raising heaven break. Of course, Qian Bing didn't take long to feel that something was wrong. She was constantly using the defense dragon martial skill to block Kang Shinmu's void dragon raising heaven break, and the energy in her body was constantly being consumed. But Kang Shinmu didn't seem to know fatigue. He kept using this seemingly weak dragon martial skill. During this period, Qian Bing also launched several attacks on Kang Shinmu. Unfortunately, Kang Shinmu didn't move at all. He just flew there and let her attack. She was unable to harm Kang Shinmu in the slightest. Such a scene not only made Qian Bing feel despair, even the surrounding dragon martial artists could feel Kang Shinmu's shamelessness. This fellow was too tanky. His defense was too strong. He could actually block an attack from a rebirth tribulation realm 3rd stage dragon emperor like Qian Bing head-on. He was simply the strongest dragon king in the world. There was no one else who could compare. Below the stage, 9th young master Gu sneered when he saw Kang Shinmu using such a tactic. It is said that Kang Shinmu has the talent to counterattack. However, this talent is useless against Qian Bing. Is he planning to exhaust Qian Bing to death like this? Many of the people behind him laughed when they saw this. I'm afraid so. Other than that, his attack methods are too lacking. It's basically impossible to defeat Qian Bing. That's right. Kang Shinmu seems to want to exhaust Qian Bing to death. However, Qian Bing's cultivation realm is higher than his, and the talent in her body is stronger. If Kang Shinmu wants to exhaust Qian Bing to death, I'm afraid that his own strength will be exhausted first. Many people had the same thought, and it wasn't unreasonable to think so. After all, generally speaking, if both sides were evenly matched, the one with the higher cultivation would have the upper hand when it came to a battle of attrition. Even if there was someone who could challenge someone of a higher cultivation, as long as the one with the higher cultivation could withstand the attack, the one with the higher cultivation would definitely win in a battle of attrition. If it was in the wild, it would depend on who had more elixirs. However, elixirs were not allowed in the academy tournament. Under such circumstances, Qian Bing's cultivation realm was 5 levels higher than Kang Shinmu. This was a huge advantage. As expected of a rebirth tribulation realm 3rd stage opponent. In the arena, Kang Shinmu also felt that Qian Bing was too difficult to deal with. At the 3rd tier of the rebirth tribulation realm, the innate talent in one's body was too dense. Jiang Shenwu could barely keep up with the consumption of energy by circulating the Dark Dragon Filth Control art at full force. However, Qian Bing seemed to have more than enough. This made Kang Shinmu rather uncomfortable. However, if this continued, he would definitely have a greater advantage with the Dark Dragon Filth Controlling skill. He would defeat Qian Bing sooner or later. Chapter 4440. The dragon martial artists who were watching the battle outside were all somewhat drowsy. The battle between Kang Shinmu and Qian Bing was really too boring. Everyone could see that both sides were fighting a battle of attrition, and Kang Shinmu was already in an invincible position. As long as he could exhaust Qian Bing's energy, he would be considered to have won. But wasn't this too shameless? Many people privately felt that Kang Shinmu was too shameless to actually use such a method. They did not know of the existence of the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique, but they guessed that Kang Shinmu had cultivated so many body-tempering dragon martial techniques, it was hard to guarantee that he did not cultivate some dragon martial technique that increased recovery speed. This kind of dragon martial technique, generally speaking, basically no one would cultivate. Rather than cultivating this kind of dragon martial technique, it was better to cultivate a body-type dragon martial technique. It would be more useful. After all, when fighting outside, if they encountered a deadlock situation, they could directly leave first and come back to think of a way. As for increasing recovery speed, it was only suitable for situations where one could not escape. That was falling into a dead end. No matter what, there was no way to escape. Even if the recovery speed was faster, it was extremely difficult to obtain the final victory. Such a useless dragon martial technique, Kang Shinmu actually cultivated it. It could be seen that Kang Shinmu was a shameless person to begin with. This kid, I'm afraid he cultivated this kind of dragon martial technique in order to exhaust his opponent to death during the Academy's grand competition. Many people guessed, and were somewhat unhappy with Kang Shinmu. This kind of method that could only be used during the Academy's grand competition was really too shameless. It must be known that ordinary people would not cultivate this kind of dragon martial technique. Until now, many people had already discovered that Kang Shinmu's energy consumption, on the contrary, was not as serious as Qian Bing's. About an hour passed, the energy in Qian Bing's body was gradually exhausted, her recovery speed was too slow, constantly using the defensive dragon martial technique to block Kang Shinmu's void dragon raising heaven break. The energy in her body had already been consumed by more than half. To want to recover, it was definitely not a matter of a short time. Who would have thought that they would encounter such a thing? Qian Bing was also completely unprepared. She only thought that she was not afraid of Kang Shinmu's counterattack talent, nor was she afraid of Kang Shinmu's attacks. She did not expect that in a situation where she could not do anything to Kang Shinmu would actually exhaust her strength. This made Qian Bing feel like crying. If it was in the outside world, she would not have ended up losing even if she had consumed a pill or directly escaped. However, during the Academy Grand Competition, she couldn't take the pill. Furthermore, he couldn't just admit defeat and run away. Once she admitted defeat, it would mean that she had lost a battle and lost the right to challenge again. It was not difficult for her to return to the Fecta region. Given her strength, she could easily defeat some of the weakest opponents in the Fecta region, but she did not think that losing to Kang Shinmu should have happened. This was too embarrassing. Kang Shinmu had only come to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy for less than a year, and it was said that he had only joined Donghuang Yangwu College for 2 years. A young man who had only joined the Dragon Martial Academy for a short 3 years could actually defeat her, Qian Bing. This was too embarrassing for her. After all, Qian Bing was a student who had cultivated in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy for more than 10 years, almost 20 years. She could be considered as a senior student, which was why she could step into the Migres region. She did not expect that she would actually lose to a young man. Simply put, Qian Bing had probably joined the Dragon Martial Academy longer than Kang Shinmu had been born. Because of this, Qian Bing was very angry that she was actually defeated by Kang Shinmu in such a shameless manner. You win. She did not intend to give up before the strength in her body was completely depleted. However, after fighting for 2 hours, the strength in her body was finally completely depleted. She no longer had the strength to defend against Kang Shinmu's attacks. Originally, after seeing through Kang Shinmu's plan, she wanted to try her luck and see if she could drag out Kang Shinmu until he ran out of strength. Reality proved that she was thinking too much. Kang Shinmu's strength was endless with the help of the Dark Dragon Inferno spell. Even if it was depleted, he could quickly recover a portion of it, and then he could perform the Void Dragon Sky Raising Break. Although the Void Dragon Sky Raising Break was only a beginner source dragon technique and had limited power, it also had an advantage, which was that it consumed less strength. If Kang Shinmu were to use a high-grade source dragon technique, he would not be able to sustain the use of a high-grade source dragon technique. Unless he could cultivate the Dark Dragon Inferno spell to the pinnacle of heaven level, he would not be able to support the continuous use of high-grade source dragon techniques. This naturally included the Wind Shadow Flowing Cloud Flash. This high-grade source dragon technique would greatly improve Kang Shinmu's strength. At least, it would guarantee his ability to survive. If he wanted to use the Wind Shadow Flowing Cloud Flash continuously, Kang Shinmu would have to cultivate the Dark Dragon Inferno spell to a higher level. In the future, the Dragon Martial Academy students' battlefield would definitely be in the spatial cracks outside. Combat ability was what they needed the most. Everything else could be abandoned. Others might not need to cultivate the Dark Dragon Inferno spell, but to Kang Shinmu, it was something he had to improve. He had to thank Ran Ran for teaching him this. However, Kang Shinmu had some ideas now. After all, he had seen many things, and he knew that the Dark Dragon Inferno spell was a dragon technique exclusive to the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy. It could not be exposed. Ran Ran's parents are probably related to the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy. However, I don't know the specifics, so it's not convenient for me to find out now. Ran Ran looks like she's 16 or 17 years old this year. In that case, I should pay attention to what happened to the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy 16 or 17 years ago if I have the chance, Kang Shinmu thought to himself. White Scorpion Xian Bing eventually used up all her energy. When Kang Shinmu used the Void Dragon Sky Raising Break again, she had no choice but to admit defeat. She could no longer maintain her defensive dragon technique, and the energy in her body was completely depleted. If she did not admit defeat, Kang Shinmu's Void Dragon Sky Raising Break would be enough to seriously injure her. If he used it again, she might be killed on the spot. Although Qian Bing was unwilling to admit defeat, she could only bow to reality and Kang Shinmu in the end. However, when she left the stage, she glared at Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu, I will not let you off so easily. For students in the Fecta zone, the biggest way to improve was still in the Beast Abyss. Qian Bing swore that if she saw Kang Shinmu in the Beast Abyss, she would definitely chase him to the ends of the earth. Kang Shinmu only looked at Qian Bing and did not say anything. In Kang Shinmu's opinion, anyone who lost to him once was not qualified to be his opponent anymore. This was because his improvement speed was definitely faster than others. This was the confidence he had as a genius. Kang Shinmu wins this battle and enters the Fecta zone. Chapter 44-41. After Kang Shinmu joined the Fecta zone, he had to wait for others to challenge him. However, after waiting for a long time, no one came to challenge him, which surprised Kang Shinmu. He did not expect that after he defeated White Scorpion Qian Bing, the others would treat him like a ferocious tiger and would not dare to challenge him. On one hand, White Scorpion Qian Bing was not a weakling. Among the 27 students in the Fecta zone, she was definitely among the top 10. On the other hand, even White Scorpion Qian Bing was defeated by Kang Shinmu. How could the others have a chance to defeat Kang Shinmu? Kang Shinmu was too powerful, at least in the Fecta zone, so nobody would challenge him. Those who wanted to join the Fecta zone would basically pick weaker opponents to challenge instead of provoking Kang Shinmu directly. Even 9th young Master Gu, who had threatened to fight Kang Shinmu, was completely terrified now. This kid had the blood essence of the Dragon King and was at the peak of the Nirvana tribulation state, yet he dared to challenge Kang Shinmu. He must be tired of living. If he really challenged Kang Shinmu, he would be out of his mind. Initially, he had not seen Kang Shinmu's strength. However, after watching the battle between Kang Shinmu and White Scorpion Qian Bing, he could tell that Kang Shinmu's strength was equivalent to the third stage rebirth state Dragon Emperor. Even in another 5 or 10 years, 9th young Master Gu might not be able to reach Kang Shinmu's current level. Initially, 9th young Master Gu was very confident. As the descendant of a hidden dragon martial artist family, he had enjoyed a lot of cultivation resources since he was young. On average, he had more resources than ordinary students in the Dragon Martial Academy. Under such circumstances, he was naturally stronger than the average student. According to the original standards, it would not be a problem for 9th young Master Gu to join the Yuheng zone. Now that the zone had expanded, he could also try to challenge the Migres zone since the quota had increased. However, the Fecta region was impossible for 9th young Master Gu. How could he have imagined that Kang Shinmu would challenge Qian Bing, the White Scorpion of the Fecta region? As for White Scorpion Qian Bing, he did not have much of an impression. After all, he had not been here for long. He was proud and arrogant towards those who were not too strong, and did not have the mood to get to know them. However, he could also see that there seemed to be some personal grudges between Qian Bing and Kang Xinmu. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for Qian Bing to go easy on the stage. In other words, Kang Xinmu could be considered as one of the strongest cultivators in the Tianji zone. If he advanced further, he could very well reach the Tianxian zone. Of course, Kang Xinmu doesn't want to go to Tianxian district now, otherwise, he might really be able to defeat some of the weaklings in Tianxian district. The prerequisite was that the opponent's talent was countered by Kang Xinmu. For example, the three-eyed demon spirit was countered by Kang Xinmu. Its attack and speed were top-notch, but its defense was lacking. Such an opponent was the easiest for Kang Xinmu to deal with. Moreover, if Kang Xinmu challenged the opponent 2 more times, he could first accumulate his resistance to the opponent's talent, and then challenge the real opponent in one fell swoop for the 3rd time. It was very likely that he could defeat some of the weaker students in Tianxian district. However, Kang Xinmu felt that it was not necessary. At present, the students in Tianxian district had to be forcibly sent to the void crack. This was enough for Kang Xinmu. He wanted to reach the level of the Dragon Emperor. During this period, he could also improve the Wind Shadow Flowing Cloud Flash, a high-level dragon origin skill. If he could cultivate it to the heaven realm, then Kang Xinmu could boldly run to the void crack to train. Kang Xinmu was not particularly afraid of death. The key was the black dragon's consciousness in his body. It was a bit strange. He did not want to cause any trouble. Since no one challenged him, Kang Xinmu was also happy to be free. He watched the battle from the sidelines and found that he could defeat most of the students in Tianji district, except for a few students who specialized in defensive dragon martial skills, which was a bit tricky for him. Dragon warrior students who had cultivated this kind of defensive dragon martial skill to the acme of perfection were basically the core of the team. When they fought, they only needed to focus on defense and leave the attack to their friends. For example, the previous duo of Kang Xinmu and Xiao Yuhua. Such an opponent would usually cultivate some healing dragon martial skill or recovery dragon martial skill. Therefore, it was also very difficult for Kang Xinmu to defeat them. If the opponent challenged him, they would definitely not be able to defeat him, but he would also not be able to defeat the opponent. Once they went on the field, they would be staring at each other, and the outcome could be determined for 10 days or half a month. Therefore, students basically did not want such a situation to happen. Of course, it was also very difficult for these dragon warrior students who cultivated this kind of defensive dragon martial skill to defeat others. It was extremely difficult for them to go to the more core area to train. Generally speaking, when their teammates reached the Tianji district, this kind of defensive type students would only reach the Tianji district, which was 1 level lower. This was also their disadvantage, and the school tournament clearly stated that they could not go easy, so their teammates could not help them advance to the next level. Now, there were 2 such dragon warriors in the Tianji district where Kang Xinmu was. They barely managed to challenge and defeat the weaker opponents in the Tianji district, but the teammates who usually worked with them were all strong people in the Tianji district. Their fighting style was somewhat similar to that of Kang Xinmu, which was to use defense to exhaust the opponent's strength, and when it was almost exhausted, they would defeat the opponent in 1 fell swoop. Not everyone's offensive dragon martial skill was as weak as Kang Xinmu's void dragon sky raising break. Some dragon warriors who were proficient in defensive dragon martial skills also had extremely outstanding offensive dragon martial skills, but such cases were relatively rare. After all, it required a lot of time for a dragon warrior to practice 2 different types of dragon martial skills, and it was not something that could be done in a short period of time. For example, Kang Xinmu wanted to practice Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Art and Wind Shadow Flowing Cloud Flash at the same time, and it took him 5 months just to reach the human level, which was considered fast. If it was someone else, perhaps 2 moves would take a year. To cultivate 1 move to the peak of the heaven level, it would take 3 to 5 years, or even 10 years was not considered long. If it was 2 moves, it would probably take at least 10 to 20 years. How could an ordinary dragon warrior have so much time? If they had so much time and talent, the grade of their divine dragon blood essence and cultivation realm would have long surpassed that of ordinary students. Until the end of today's school tournament, no one came up to challenge Kang Xinmu. The battle between him and Qian Bing was really uncomfortable, and no one wanted to have such a painful experience like Qian Bing. Kang Xinmu had no choice but to step down. Chapter 44-42. The second day was the day of the Migres district competition. There were a total of 45 places in the Migres district. Just like the day before, the participants would be chosen in the morning, from the original Yuheng district and Kaiyang district students. In the afternoon, it would be the challenge. Ran's original target was the Migres district, but she was originally from the Alcade district, and was not qualified to enter the Kaiyang district. She could only wait for the afternoon challenge. Originally, young Master Gu and young Master Liang wanted to challenge the Migres district. But they realized that the students in the Migres district were too strong. Even Ran did not challenge the students in the Migres district. If the two of them challenged, they would be courting death. Hence, they could only challenge the Migres district first. If not for the expansion of the district, these two fellows would at most be able to make it to the Yuheng district. Due to the large number of slots available, the Migres area's challenges continued for 2 days. Ran directly challenged a female student and succeeded, occupying her position. Then, within 2 days, she consecutively accepted 3 challenges, winning all of them. After 2 days, Ran finally gained a foothold in the Migres district. Kang Xinmu, Migres district. Ran, Migres district. Liang Xiao, Migres district. It had to be said that Liang Xiao's progress was too fast. Even Ran's speed of improvement was only about the same as Liang Xiao's. It could be seen that Liang Xiao's cultivation talent was really terrifying. As for Xiao Yuhua and the girl in white, they were both students in the Migres district, and ranked near the bottom. After all, the two girls had improved greatly. Xiao Yuhua was already at the first tier of the reincarnation tribulation realm. She had already cultivated the high-grade origin source dragon martial technique, Phoenix Dance of the Burning Nine Heavens, to its peak. She had also cultivated a defensive dragon martial technique. Although she was still a Dragon King level divine dragon's blood essence, her strength was not far from that of some dragon emperors. Some students in the Migres district spent all their time on improving their divine dragon blood. But Xiao Yuhua spent all her time on improving her Phoenix Dance of the Burning Nine Heavens. To be able to cultivate a high-level divine dragon technique to the peak of the heaven level, Xiao Yuhua could beat most students. Even in the Migres district, not many students could do that. For example, White Scorpion Qian Bing, who had been cultivating in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy for more than 10 years, had only managed to cultivate a mid-level divine dragon technique to the peak of the heaven level. The difficulty of cultivating a high-level divine dragon technique was several times that of a mid-level divine dragon technique. Therefore, Xiao Yuhua directly stepped into the Fecta region with the help of the Phoenix Dance, incinerating the 9 heavens at the peak of the heaven stage. As for the girl in the white dress, she had reached the second level of the rebirth tribulation realm. She had used the experience points from the last demonic beast experience to exchange for a set of 3 heaven-ranked dragon weapons. In the past half a year, she had been training with these 3 heaven-level dragon weapons. Now, she could already unleash 70% of the power of these 3 heaven-level dragon weapons, causing her fighting strength to become extremely terrifying. The expansion of the district quota allowed her to reach the level of the Migres district. She had challenged her limits in the demonic beast training with Kang Xinmu and killed the 6th-level intermediate devil spirit. She had gained at least twice as many points as the other students. Therefore, the improvement she obtained from this experience was naturally extremely great. Xiao Yuhua, the girl in the white dress, Kang Xinmu, and the other 5 people were the oddities in the Migres district. Only the 8 of them were qualified to stay in the Migres district because they had inherited divine dragon blood of the Dragon King level. The other 19 people all had inherited divine dragon blood of the Dragon Emperor level. Among them, Qian Bing, whom Kang Xinmu had defeated, was one of the top experts in the Migres district. It was clear that Kang Xinmu was one of the top experts in the Migres district. Although the inherited blood essence of the dragon's sovereign realm was powerful, the other aspects of strength could not be ignored. Some students only cared about raising the grade of the divine dragon blood essence and neglected the improvement of other aspects. Their actual combat strength was destined to be too weak. Now, including Ran Ran and Liang Xiao, Kang Xinmu finally had his own team. There were 5 of them, and they had a good relationship with each other. If they went out to train together, they would definitely work well together. Now, in front of them was the Beast Abyss. The Beast Abyss was the place where they could gain the most experience points before the Void Rift. The competition in the Beast Abyss was fierce. Many students from the Dubhe district and Tianxian district would go there. The other students could only run if they encountered them. But now, although the number of students from the Dubhe district and Tianxian district had tripled, they were all forced to go near the Void Rift to fight against the demonic beasts. Therefore, the students from the Migres district were the strongest in the Beast Abyss. Especially Kang Xinmu's team of 5. Although Ran Ran and Liang Xiao were only students from the Migres district, they were ranked at the top in the Migres district. If they worked together with Kang Xinmu's team, they would not be a burden. Instead, they would have a unique effect. If the 5 of them worked together, they could do whatever they wanted in the Beast Abyss. They did not need to be afraid if they encountered other students from the Dragon Martial Academy. Of course, there were still some demonic beasts in the Beast Abyss that could rival the students from the Dubhe district and Tianxian district. They just had to avoid provoking them. Generally speaking, if Kang Xinmu's team of 5 entered the Beast Abyss, they would not have to be as worried as Kang Xinmu had been in the Beast Abyss the previous 2 times. Let's take this opportunity to sweep the Beast Abyss and obtain as many experience points as possible. If the 5 of them worked together, some of the experience points would be divided. However, it was not a big problem for Kang Xinmu. After all, he was confident that he could bring the 5 of them and obtain more spoils of war. In any case, he would gain quite a lot, so there was no need for others to take part of it. After all, the participation of others would also increase the speed at which he obtained the spoils of war. In the future, I will have to form a team of 5 to train in the Void Chasm. Otherwise, it will be difficult to survive the attacks of a large number of void demonic beasts. Unity is strength. Kang Xinmu was very clear on this point. If Xiao Yuhua, Ran Ran, and the others attacked Kang Xinmu together, Kang Xinmu might not be their match. Just this point alone was enough. Bringing them along was not a burden, but a helper. Kang Xinmu did not go to watch the challenges after the Migres district. He took a good rest in the palace and consolidated his strength. When the competition ended, he was finally arranged to go to the palace in the Fekta district. Originally, there were many palaces in the Fekta district, and many of them were empty. However, with the increase in the number of places in the major cultivation areas, these palaces were soon filled. There were even palaces that had 2 dragon martial artists assigned to each palace. There were simply not enough palaces, and there was no time to expand the palaces in a short period of time. However, after the competition ended, with the announcement of Dean Yuyaji, the concentration of Dragon Mark energy in the entire Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy skyrocketed by 5 times overnight. Chapter 44-43. The concentration of the Dragon Mark's energy had skyrocketed by more than 5 times overnight. Without a doubt, an existence at the level of the peerless divine dragon was able to attract so much Dragon Mark energy from elsewhere. Originally, the peerless divine dragon had the ability to increase the Dragon Mark's energy in the Dragon Martial Academy, but there was no need for it. It was most likely because the 4 Dragon Martial Academies in the Dragon Martial continent were not considered powerful factions, and it was not worth investing too much. However, now that the Void Rift had appeared in the sky above the Dragon Martial continent, if the peerless divine dragon did not gather more dragon mark energy, the dragon martial continent might be destroyed. Since the peerless divine dragon had created the dragon martial continent, they naturally would not sit by and watch it be destroyed. That was why the dragon mark's energy had increased so much. Although the dragon mark's energy had increased fivefold, to the students of the various dragon martial academies, the grade of the divine dragon's blood essence did not increase by much. The main reason was that the number of slots for the various cultivation zones in the Dragon Martial Academy had doubled, reaching 3 times the previous number. Therefore, in reality, the amount of dragon mark energy that every student could get was only 60% higher than before, but it was already an incredible increase. If the ordinary students cultivating in the Yuheng district could absorb the dragon mark's energy at a rate of 1, then Kang Xinmu, who had been cultivating in the Yuheng district, could absorb the dragon mark's energy at a rate of 10. Now that Kang Xinmu had gone to the affected district to cultivate, the overall concentration of dragon mark energy had increased again. His absorption speed could be said to have reached 25. This was almost 2.5 times the original speed, and the effect was very obvious. If Kang Xinmu could reach the Dubhe district, his absorption speed would most likely be around 50 times faster than when he was in the Yuheng district, or even double the current speed. Unfortunately, once he reached the Dubhe district, he would have to go to the Void Rift most of the time. He would not have the free time to cultivate in the Dragon Martial Academy. Of course, the Dragon Martial Academy would not let the students from the Dubhe district and Tianxian district train near the Void Rift all the time. Every student could apply for leave to return to the Dragon Martial Academy after killing enough void demonic creatures to cultivate, mainly to absorb the dragon mark's energy. Moreover, it was said that when students from the Divine Pivot and Divine Jade districts returned to the academy to absorb the dragon mark's energy, their absorption speed would increase to a certain extent. This was mainly the reward they could obtain from training in the void cracks. They could obtain demon hunting points by hunting void beasts, and they could use the demon hunting points to exchange for treasures that could not be exchanged in the Dragon Martial Academy. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu did not plan on hunting void demons for the time being. To him, that was a little too ambitious. It was better for him to go to the Beast Abyss to train and strengthen himself first. About a year more. 1 year later, I will be able to participate in the school competition and strive to enter the Heaven Center district. 1 year later, Kang Xinmu's goal was the core of the Heaven's Pivot district. If this was known to others, it would be hard to believe, and some might even sneer at him. Going from the Fecta region to the Heaven Center region in a year was practically a pipe dream. It had to be known that it had taken top geniuses like Feng Ligay and Yu Tiangsheng several years to go from the Fecta region to the Heaven Jade region, and then from the Heaven Jade region to the Heaven Center region. It was almost impossible to complete such a leap in just a year. But what others could not do, it was not impossible for Kang Xinmu. After all, Kang Xinmu had the devouring talent, and he could lead the team to monopolize the Beast Abyss, so it would be relatively easier for him to gain experience points. It was not impossible for him to reach the strength of the Heaven Center region in a year. Of course, Kang Xinmu was not 100% sure that he could achieve it. There were 9 places in the Heaven Center region now, 3 times more than before. But every cultivator in the Heaven Center region was the best among the students, and they basically had divine dragon blood at the level of the Dragon Emperor. Moreover, they were at the 5th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm and above. The Dragon Emperor's blood might even be at the 3rd or 4th level. It would be rather difficult for Kang Xinmu to catch up to them. Now that I'm in the Fecta region, I can spend half a year to absorb the Dragon Mark's energy. Kang Xinmu thought to himself. His current divine dragon blood was at the 6th level of the Dragon King. If he wanted to reach the Dragon Emperor's level of divine dragon blood, he would have to upgrade it 4 more times. In the past, these 4 upgrades might have taken him 2 to 3 years. But now, he only needed less than a year. Of course, the prerequisite was that he would not encounter a bottleneck in breaking through. With Kang Xinmu's talent, it was unlikely that he would encounter a bottleneck. Moreover, Kang Xinmu could not always cultivate in the Dragon Martial Academy and absorb the Dragon Mark's energy. He had to lead the team to the Beast Abyss and train himself from time to time. After all, his divine dragon tyrant body technique and wind shadow flowing cloud flash could only be improved through actual combat. Chapter 44-44. Ordinary students absorbed the dragon mark energy step by step, and the absorption efficiency was not high. However, Kang Shinmu used his devouring power to directly devour the dragon mark energy, and he could also devour the dragon mark energy around him. His absorption efficiency was 10 times higher than that of ordinary dragon warrior students. Ran, Liang Xiao, and the others were not too slow in absorbing the dragon mark energy either. They were all showing off their abilities. They had exchanged the points from the Void Beast experience for some treasures like the Dragon Scar Blood Pendant that could increase the absorption efficiency of the Dragon Mark energy. These treasures were not as heaven-defying as the Dragon Scar Blood Pendant, but they could increase their absorption efficiency by 2 or even 3 times. This way, the 4 of them could absorb the Dragon Mark energy at a fast rate. At least before reaching the 6th level of Dragon King, it was still very fast. In just half a month, Ran, Liang Xiao, and the others' Dragon King blood essence levels had increased by 2 levels, reaching the 5th and 4th levels respectively. Xiao Yuhua and the girl in white had reached the 7th level of Dragon King blood essence, which was a relatively high level, and they were faster than Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu was now at the 6th level of Dragon King blood essence. Even though he was in the Fecta region and the Dragon Martial Academy had increased the concentration of the Dragon Mark energy, it would still take him more than 2 months to break through to the 7th level of Dragon King. Apart from the scattered Dragon Mark energy that Kang Shinmu had devoured previously, and now that he had devoured half a month's worth of Dragon Mark energy, Kang Shinmu still needed about a month to reach the 7th level of Dragon King. During this time, Kang Shinmu did not plan to stay in the academy to devour. He decided to go to the Beast Abyss to obtain experience points in exchange for treasures that contained rich Dragon Mark energy. In any case, the Dragon King blood essence he had absorbed from the 6th to the 7th level had already exceeded half of the Dragon Mark energy. It would not affect his strength much if he continued to absorb treasures. It would only allow him to break through to the 7th level of Dragon King faster. Originally, it would have taken a few months. Now, if he was lucky, he might be able to reach his goal in a few days. Therefore, the Beast Abyss was absolutely necessary. Furthermore, the efficiency of the others in absorbing the Dragon Mark's energy in the Dragon Martial Academy was not as good as Kang Shinmu. If they continued to stay in the academy, the gap between them and Kang Shinmu would only widen. 20 days after the energy of the Dragon Mark of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy skyrocketed, Kang Shinmu brought Ran, Liang Xiao, Xiao Yuhua, and the white-dressed girl with him, planning to head to the Beast Abyss. Nothing major happened in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. There were just some conflicts between the new and old students. These had nothing to do with Kang Shinmu. If it wasn't for Kang Shinmu's terrifying battle prowess in the Academy's grand competition, those new students would have come looking for trouble with him. Unfortunately, the battle prowess that Kang Shinmu had displayed during the battle with White Scorpion Xian Bing made everyone realize that he was not to be trifled with. At least, among all the new students, apart from Gu Yusheng and another girl, no one was a match for Kang Shinmu. The likes of 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang couldn't even take a single blow from Kang Shinmu. Gu Yusheng and that girl were now students in the Imperial Center District. They had already headed to the vicinity of the crack in the void. Naturally, they wouldn't come looking for trouble with Kang Shinmu. Therefore, in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, where the new and old students were at odds with each other, Kang Shinmu had never been disturbed by anyone. It was rather quiet. They're out. When Kang Shinmu's group of 5 headed to Emperor Shi's formation, 2 new students saw them secretly. They immediately left from a hidden spot near Emperor Shi's formation, wanting to inform someone. Not long after, the 2 new students saw 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang, who were drinking and having fun with several young girls. 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang were now students in Yuheng District. They were considered mid-level students in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Moreover, they came from hidden dragon martial arts families and were the direct descendants of their respective families. Naturally, their statuses were distinguished. Not to mention the new students who were selected from the Dragon Emperor's kingdom, even some of the old students thought highly of these two people. Today, 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang held a banquet together. They invited many graceful and beautiful young dragon martial artists to drink and have fun together. Of course, those young female students who had surpassed Yuheng district would not be interested in these two fellows. On the other hand, those young female students who had always been in Yaoguang district and had tried their best to improve themselves ran over to seduce these two young masters. They planned to fight for some cultivation resources so that they could improve themselves. They knew what kind of price they would have to pay, but they didn't think that it was inappropriate. After all, the dragon martial artists respected the strong. As long as they could become stronger, they were willing to pay any price. 9th Young Master Gu, Young Master Liang, Kang Xinmu has gone to Emperor Shi's formation with his men and has disappeared. The two new students who had been monitoring Emperor Shi's formation came to 9th Young Master Gu's palace. They immediately went to his side and whispered into his ear. "Oh. How many of them?" 9th Young Master Gu's face instantly lit up and he asked in a low voice. "A total of 5 people. Kang Xinmu is the strongest. The rest, in my opinion, are all useless." The new student chuckled. "Young Master's arrangements can be put to good use. I think they are most likely going to Beast Abyss. This time, Kang Xinmu will definitely not come back alive." It seemed that they had made arrangements in Beast Abyss. Only students of Dragon Martial Arts Academy could enter Beast Abyss. However, it was not limited to students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Therefore, if they wanted to make arrangements, they could indeed arrange for some strong students to enter Beast Abyss and attack Kang Xinmu. If he killed Jiang Xinwu in the Beast Abyss, no one would be able to detect it. On the surface, 9th Young Master Gu and Young Master Liang did not have any conflict with Kang Xinmu. However, they still adored Ran Ran. If they wanted to get Ran Ran, they had to kill Kang Xinmu. Moreover, they could not expose that they were the ones who attacked Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu had cultivated in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy for 20 days. Now that he had finally left the academy, he had given them a chance. Everything they had done against Kang Xinmu had been carried out in secret. Apart from their own people, no one else knew. Therefore, Kang Xinmu and the other 4 did not know that someone had already arranged for them to enter Beast Abyss. The 5 of them passed through Emperor Shi's formation and appeared in Beast Abyss. When they opened their eyes, the 5 of them realized that a desert had appeared in front of them. Beside the desert was an ocean covered by dark clouds. The ancient Nether Sea Road. Chapter 44-45. It's the ancient Nether Sea Path. Kang Xinmu saw the scene in front of him and said directly. "To be honest, we haven't been to the Beast Abyss much." Xiao Yuhua looked around curiously. "I heard that the left side of the ancient Nether Sea Path is the barren desert, and the right side is the Nether Sea. Both are dangerous areas with many powerful demonic beasts. The Raging Flame Desert and the Nether Sea." Kang Xinmu had spent a lot of time in the outskirts of the Raging Flame Desert. Now that he was revisiting this place, his strength was at least 10 times stronger than before. Moreover, he had 4 companions. Even if he encountered some demon emperors, he could kill them head-on. As long as they were not demon emperors above the 4th tier of the rebirth tribulation realm, Kang Xinmu was not particularly afraid. "Let's go to the Raging Flame Desert." Kang Xinmu quickly made the arrangements. Training in the Beast Abyss was relatively safe. Even if they encountered danger, they could directly teleport back to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy through the imprint of Emperor Shi's formation. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was not too worried. He led the 4 of them directly toward the Raging Flame Desert. Under the scorching sun, the 5 of them all transformed into dragons and flew, bringing with them a strong aura that spread out in all directions. Although it was only the blood essence of the Dragon King level, the aura that they erupted still caused many demonic beasts in the outskirts of the raging flame desert to tremble. They all hid deep in the desert, not daring to poke their heads out. Now that Kang Shinmu's strength had increased, the insect tribes in the outskirts of the raging flame desert were naturally no longer a threat to Kang Shinmu. He planned to head to the central region of the raging flame desert to hunt some demon emperors. Or demon kings. Anyway, against a demon king, even if it was a 7th-tier rebirth tribulation realm, he was confident that he could fight it. The key was that his strength had increased a lot compared to before, and he had 4 companions. When their team fought against demon kings or demon emperors, their biggest advantage was to take advantage of the other party's underestimation. Now, in their team of 5, everyone could fight above their level. Therefore, if they encountered a demon king or demon emperor, the other party would most likely underestimate them. This was their chance. If he made use of his opponent's underestimation of him, he would be able to kill his opponent in one fell swoop. Kang Shinmu led the team deeper into the flaming desert. Unbeknownst to them, in an area adjacent to the ancient Nether Sea Path, 4 Fecta region dragon martial artists had already met. These 4 Fecta region dragon martial artists did not know each other, and they came from 4 different dragon martial academies. Every dragon martial academy had a student. The 4 dragon martial artists gathered together and looked at each other, each of them looking down on the other. After all, the 4 dragon martial academies were competitors. This time, the 4 of us will join forces to besiege and kill Kang Shinmu. We must kill him in one strike and not leave any loose ends. One of the dragon warriors said. A woman's cold voice rang out. That's right. When we train in the Beast Abyss, we can use Emperor Shi's imprint to directly return to the Dragon Martial Academy. We have to guard against them. Isn't that up to you, Qian Bing? A man chuckled and said, White Scorpion Qian Bing, I heard that you were suppressed by that brat Kang Shinmu in the Academy tournament of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. How unsightly. That Kang Shinmu only joined our Donghuang Yangwu College for 2 years. You've been in the Dragon Martial Academy for close to 20 years, but you're not a match for a newbie. Haha. Hearing the man's chuckle, the woman who spoke earlier sneered. What nonsense are you talking about? This Kang Shinmu is a top genius. Even your Super Dragon Martial Academy's dean couldn't kill him when he wanted to. If your Donghuang Yangwu College could use some of him, what would be left for us? How dare you insult our dean? The man's face darkened, and his voice was cold as he looked at Qian Bing. I wouldn't dare. I'm just saying that you students are useless. You can't even share the dean's burden. Qian Bing laughed coldly. She would not fall into the man's trap. That's enough. A muscular disciple from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy pressed his hand and immediately said, Since we're traveling together, we can't fight among ourselves first. Right now, we know their location. They're in the blazing desert beside the ancient Nether Sea Path. Qian Bing. A black-veiled woman from the Southern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy said softly, You have a conflict with that Kang Shinmu, so it's best that you show up first. After all, you're from the same Dragon Martial Academy. If you're in danger, he won't leave you be, right? That's not necessarily the case. Who knows if that Kang Shinmu is someone who doesn't want to save me? Qian Bing glanced at her and said calmly. Of course, she knew what the other party was planning. They wanted her to attract Kang Shinmu's attention so that the other 3 could launch a sneak attack and kill Kang Shinmu. They had the advantage of knowing the whereabouts of Kang Shinmu's group of 5. Qian Bing, you should also consider the possibility of the assassination failing. The black-veiled woman's voice was ethereal. She had a graceful and voluptuous figure, and her perfect curves were eye-catching. Her eyes were revealed outside the black veil. She looked at Qian Bing emotionlessly and said, If the assassination is successful, everything will be fine. However, if the assassination fails, or if one of them escapes, won't you be exposed? The most appropriate method is to pretend to be heavily injured to attract their attention. Even if they don't fall for the trap and get close to you, we can make them neglect their surroundings and launch a sneak attack. This way, even if the assassination fails, it won't affect your status in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. What do you think? Hearing this, Qian Bing's face darkened. Obviously, the other party was right. She couldn't assassinate Kang Shinmu's group of 5 directly, and she didn't have any means to change her appearance. Even if she could change her appearance, she would use the power of the White Scorpion God's venomous dragon. Kang Shinmu had fought with her before, so it was impossible for him not to recognize her. Therefore, the black-veiled woman's words were reliable. Qian Bing was most suitable to pretend to be heavily injured to attract the attention of Kang Shinmu's group of 5. Also, it's best to keep that woman named Ran alive. The young man from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy said calmly, therefore, even if we succeed in the assassination, Qian Bing, it's best for you to conceal yourself and not expose yourself. This is from your point of view. Moreover, isn't this the reason why we arranged for you to cooperate with us in the first place? If you can conceal yourself well, you can even continue to be with Kang Shinmu's group after we fail in the assassination and look for a second chance. Why not? Hearing this, Qian Bing could only smile calmly. She said, let's do as you say. She thought to herself, what second chance? If she really succeeded in assassinating Kang Shinmu, then the reward will be hers alone, and the other 3 won't get anything. Chapter 44-46. Of course, Kang Shinmu's group of 5 didn't know that someone was plotting against them. They entered the blazing desert and hunted the demonic beasts as quickly as possible. Most of the demonic beasts in the blazing desert were extremely heat-resistant. There were insect-like demonic beasts with carapaces, worms like sandworms, and sand beasts with extremely thick skin. These sand beasts could store large amounts of water in their bodies, so they could survive in the blazing desert. Kang Shinmu's group killed their way over and encountered many Demon King-level demonic beasts. These demonic beasts were basically at the 3rd level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. There were all kinds of demonic beasts from the 6th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. To Kang Shinmu, demonic beasts of this level posed no difficulty. Even if he was alone, he could finish them off. Now that the 5 of them formed a team, it was even easier to finish off a Demon King of this level. Even the relatively weaker Ran and Liang Shao could fight against a 6th level Rebirth Tribulation realm Demon King if they joined forces. It was a little difficult to defeat them, but with Xiao Yuhua and the white-dressed girl around, they didn't have to worry about not being able to kill their opponents. As for Kang Shinmu, he was undoubtedly the backbone of the team. Other than Kang Shinmu, the only male among the 5, Liang Shao, admired Kang Shinmu from the bottom of his heart. It was more efficient for the 5 of them to hunt demonic beasts together, but there was a drawback. The experience points they obtained had to be divided into 5 portions. However, before they set off, they agreed that each of them would get different portions. They divided the experience points into 15 portions, with Liang Shao and Ran getting 2 portions each, Xiao Yuhua and the white-dressed girl getting 3 portions each, and Kang Shinmu getting 5 portions each. The 4 of them unanimously agreed and recommended that Kang Shinmu was qualified to get this distribution. Ran even felt that Kang Shinmu getting 1/3 was considered too little. After all, if Kang Shinmu came alone, he could easily finish off those Demon Kings. Once they encountered a Demon Emperor, they would need Kang Shinmu's main fighting force. Otherwise, it would be impossible to defeat a Demon Emperor. No matter what, the 5 of them had agreed to this method of distribution. Kang Shinmu couldn't possibly share it with them. After all, Kang Shinmu needed a lot of experience points, even more than the others. After he reached the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation stage, he noticed something. Even though his devouring energy was able to completely devour the energy of the heavens and the earth from some treasures of heaven and earth, the total amount of energy he required to raise his cultivation level exceeded that of others. This puzzled Kang Shinmu. Although the devouring power was very strong, it was much more difficult to improve compared to other innate powers. This was considered fair for the other dragon martial artists. It was obvious that there was a conservation of power between heaven and earth. It was impossible to obtain stronger power for no reason. Although Kang Shinmu surpassed other dragon martial artists in the same realm, he had to put in more effort than others to reach this realm. In the blazing desert, Kang Shinmu and the other 4 constantly hunted sandworms and sand beasts, but they only encountered Demon King level opponents. About 4 hours later, the 5 of them killed at least 10 Demon King level opponents and obtained 10 demon cores. They were temporarily kept in Kang Shinmu's hands and hadn't been distributed. At this time, the 5 of them almost simultaneously discovered that there were some unnatural undulations in the desert in front of them. There was a strong smell of blood coming from the undulations. There's a demon emperor-level demonic beast hunting other demonic beasts. Kang Shinmu's expression changed slightly. He carefully sensed the aura and discovered that it was a demon emperor at the 3rd level of the reincarnation tribulation stage. Its strength was almost equivalent to White Scorpion Xian Bing. It wouldn't be easy for Kang Shinmu to kill it alone. However, with Xiao Yuhua and the others present, Kang Shinmu wasn't afraid at all. Let's go and hunt demon emperors. Kang Shinmu recalled the first time he came to the Beast Abyss. He was lucky enough to encounter someone hunting demon emperor soaring serpents. The soaring serpents were much stronger than the desert demonic beasts in front of them. It was obvious that Kang Shinmu wasn't much stronger than the students in the Fecta zone back then. There might even be a slight gap between them. After all, he had stepped into the Fecta zone now. However, the key was that the quota for each cultivation zone had increased. Some of the students in the Fecta zone had even reached the core divine center zone. There was naturally a gap. For example, Boulder Destiny Dragon and Wu Machan from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy were much stronger than Kang Shinmu in the Fecta zone. They must be even stronger now. As Kang Shinmu attacked, the other 4 immediately followed. Together with Kang Shinmu, they launched a violent attack in the direction of the Demon Emperor's aura. The 5 people's dragon martial techniques descended at almost the same time. Sand billowed in the sky. In the entire desert, the Demon Emperor was blasted into a huge pit by the 5 people's attacks. The 5 Dragon Kings flew up and looked down at the sand pit. They saw a Demon Emperor sandworm in the sand pit. It seemed to be hunting 2 Demon Kings and had just swallowed them. As a result, the Demon Emperor sandworm was attacked by Kang Shinmu and the other 4 people, and its body was covered in wounds. Chapter 44-47. No one had expected that they would be able to kill the monstrous Emperor sandworm with just 2 attacks from their joint forces. Obviously, the 5 of them working together were much more powerful than one of them alone. Good, it seems that the 4 of you are enough to deal with such a demon emperor. I don't need to do anything at all. Kang Shinmu smiled. Obviously, apart from him, the other 4 members of the team were not weak. Just now, Kang Shinmu had only used the power of the Great Wilderness Demon Rinsing Sword to launch 2 virtual dragon sky-roaring breaks, which were not very powerful. The most important thing was that the Demon Emperor sandworm could not resist the attacks of the other 4. Killing a Demon Emperor at the 3rd level of the Reincarnation Tribulation realm with 2 attacks was quite a good result. It could be considered that the Demon Emperor sandworm was killed directly without giving it a chance to escape. Next, it was time to harvest. Kang Shinmu took the lead and flew down. He did not deactivate his divine dragon form, but approached cautiously, in case there was a sudden attack from below the desert. After all, there were many demonic beasts with strong concealment abilities in this desert. It was impossible to guard against them. Even Kang Shinmu might not be able to perceive the existence of the other party. But at this time, he worried too much. If there were other demonic beasts lying in ambush below, it would not have been so peaceful when they attacked the Demon Emperor sandworm. Soon, Kang Shinmu took out the demon cores of the Demon Emperor sandworm. At the same time, he found that the Demon Emperor sandworm had just swallowed the Demon Emperor sandworm's Demon Emperor sandworm and had not had time to digest them. Just now, Their attacks had torn the Demon Emperor Sandworm into pieces, and the 2 demon cores had rolled out, which was an extra harvest. It's been less than 6 hours since we came in, and we've already gained quite a lot from hunting demonic beasts. Kang Shinmu was quite happy. Even if he could only get 1/3 of it, it was still a very big income. It would have taken him at least a month of hard work to get the experience points he had gained in the Yuheng district. Even if it was an ordinary student in the Fekta district, it would take him 7 days to get the experience points by completing the experience points. This was only their harvest in 6 hours. For Kang Shinmu, this rate of harvest was not bad. At this rate, he only needed to stay here for half a month to accumulate enough experience points to exchange for treasures of heaven and earth. This would allow his Dragon King level blood essence to break through to the 7th level. After the 5 of them killed the Demon Emperor Sandworm, they continued to fly deeper into the flaming desert. Clearly, the Demon Emperor Sandworms in this place were not their limit. They could still hunt and kill stronger Demon Emperors. As long as they could kill stronger Demon Emperors, they would gain even more. Even if the level of the Yao core was only 1 level higher, the value would be doubled. With their current abilities, they could definitely try to deal with experts at the 4th or even the 5th tier of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm like the Dragon Emperor. Kang Shinmu's limit was to devour the power of a 4th tier Reincarnation Tribulation Realm Demon Emperor and make it his own. As for a 5th tier Reincarnation Tribulation Realm Demon Emperor, once it appeared, even Kang Shinmu had to deal with it carefully. If he was not careful, his head would be separated from his body. After all, Kang Shinmu's Divine Dragon Tyrant body technique had not been cultivated to the great success stage, so his body could not completely withstand such a strong attack. However, before they could see the next Demon Emperor, an unexpected scene suddenly appeared in front of them. They saw a familiar figure of a white divine dragon suddenly appear in the flaming desert not far in front of them. It collapsed on the surface of the flaming desert, seemingly unconscious. It's White Scorpion Qian Bing. Everyone's expression changed slightly. They did not expect to meet White Scorpion Qian Bing here. Why was Qian Bing here? Be careful, don't fall into Qian Bing's trap. Everyone knew what kind of character White Scorpion had. They all looked at each other and became vigilant. If he had seen any other dragon martial artist student collapsing in the desert, Kang Shinmu would have already transformed into a dragon and gone over to check. After all, he was skilled and daring. His black dragon body's defense was extremely strong, so he did not need to worry under normal circumstances. But now, the person who appeared in front of them was White Scorpion Qian Bing. This woman had always had a bad reputation, so it was impossible for Kang Shinmu to run up to her casually. Could it be that she was attacked and fell here? Or is it just a trap to lure us over? Everyone secretly guessed. However, just as they were guessing where they were, a vortex of a formation suddenly appeared in the nearby desert. This formation vortex brought with it rolling yellow sand, and in an instant, Jiang Shenwu and the other 4 were shrouded within it. At the same time, countless yellow sand condensed into incomparably sharp sword chi brilliance, sweeping towards Kang Shinmu's group of 5. This was a trap, an ambush. It's an array ambush. Kang Shinmu's face darkened. With a dragon roar, his black dragon body swung its tail, directly blocking the other 4. But even so, he could only help them block the attack from one side. He could not block the attack from the other side. Seeing that the situation was critical, the other 4 did not hesitate at all. Each of them displayed their defensive dragon skills and blocked the yellow sand sword chi brilliance from the other side. Moreover, Ran had also cultivated the chaotic dragon body to the heaven tier. At this moment, she directly blocked the attack from the other side with Kang Shinmu. Die! It was also at this moment that a violent roar erupted from the yellow sand. It was an earth divine dragon, hiding in the yellow sand and suddenly exploding. Or rather, this earth divine dragon had transformed into the form of yellow sand and blended into the blazing desert, so Kang Shinmu and the others did not notice it. One had to know that Kang Shinmu's perception was extremely strong, but he did not notice this Earth Divine Dragon. This showed how powerful its concealment and camouflage ability was. At this moment, Kang Shinmu did not know the identity of the other party. He only knew that he had been ambushed. Since that was the case, he would fight back. The violent yellow sand sword Chi Brilliance was like the sharpest weapon in the world, slashing at the divine dragon bodies of Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran. Then, on Ran Ran's body, deep bloody wounds were left. Even Kang Shinmu suffered some minor injuries from the other party's attack. One could imagine that the other party's strength was even stronger than White Scorpion Xianbing. It was a pity that the demonic beasts in the blazing desert were basically earth demonic beasts. In the past 6 hours, Kang Shinmu had already devoured a lot of earth elemental power, so his resistance to earth elemental power had reached the extreme. Therefore, the other party's attack, which was supposed to kill, did not kill Kang Shinmu. The black dragon above his head was from the Northern Wilderness Dragon Martial Academy, and the wind dragon below his feet was from Donghuang Yangwu College. This time, the 3 dragon martial academies had actually joined forces to deal with him. No, there's still one more. Kang Shinmu subconsciously looked at White Scorpion Xianbing, who had fainted on the ground. White Scorpion Xianbing was still unconscious in the desert. However, Kang Shinmu knew that Xianbing was definitely one of the assassins. Obviously, assassinations in the Beast Abyss were much more difficult than assassinations in the outside world. They had to kill in one hit. Otherwise, the target might very well return to the Dragon Martial Academy through Emperor Shi's seal. If that happened, the assassination would fail and the opponent would be alerted. Although White Scorpion Xianbing did not attack and only pretended to be unconscious in the desert, her purpose was to attract the attention of Kang Shinmu and the others. No matter what Kang Shinmu and the others thought, when they saw White Scorpion Xianbing unconscious in the desert, they would definitely be distracted for a moment. No matter how they guessed, when White Scorpion appeared in front of them, they would have to think about something. Taking this opportunity to launch a surprise attack, they could make Kang Shinmu and the others have no time to think about anything else. They could only take their attacks head-on. It was a well-planned plan. However, the first attack failed, so they could only launch a second attack. The success rate of the second attack was much lower. This was because Kang Shinmu must have been prepared. Seeing that he could not win, he would definitely activate Emperor Shi's seal and return to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. They were just taking a gamble. They were betting that Kang Shinmu was very confident in himself and was willing to stay behind and take their attacks. After all, entering the Beast Abyss once would cost experience points. No one wanted to waste these experience points. Most importantly, each student could only enter the Beast Abyss once a month. After entering once this month, they would not be able to enter again. It would be a waste of time. Therefore, although there was no danger to one's life in the Beast Abyss, that was only relatively speaking. Throughout history, many dragon martial artist students had been killed in the Beast Abyss due to greed, reluctance, and other emotions during their training. Therefore, the other party was betting that Kang Shinmu also had the same greed and reluctance. 2 attacks came from above and below. As for the wild sand brilliant sword dragon, it did not attack again. After all, it realized that its attack had no effect on Kang Shinmu. It just stood at the side and blocked Xiao Yuhua and the others who wanted to help. Although the wild sand brilliant sword dragon could not do anything to Kang Shinmu, it was still a great threat to Xiao Yuhua and the others. After all, it had set up the yellow sand sword formation here. Its battle prowess was directly increased by 2 or 3 times. If it really wanted to kill Xiao Yuhua and the others, it would be possible to succeed after 2 more attacks. With the wild sand brilliant sword dragon blocking, even if Xiao Yuhua and the others wanted to help Kang Shinmu, it was too late. They could only watch as Kang Shinmu faced the 2 waves of attacks alone. You guys are too naive. Kang Shinmu sneered. Until now, there was really no student in the Fekta district who could kill him. That white scorpion Xian Bing was already considered one of the stronger ones in the Fecta district. Even if the two people attacking Kang Shinmu were the strongest in the Fecta district, they could not do anything to Kang Shinmu. Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique. Guardian Stance. Kang Shinmu had never thought of escaping back to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Instead, he directly unleashed the Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique's Guardian Stance. A layer of the Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique's powerful strength directly enveloped Jiang Shenwu's Divine Dragon Body, doubling the strength of his physical body. Instantly, it was as solid as a fortress, like an indestructible black divine rock. Chapter 44-49. Xiao Yuhua and the others were shocked to see the power converging and erupting. Such a terrifying attack was definitely at the peak level of the Fecta district. When the two joined forces, it was definitely at the level of the Jade district. It would be a piece of cake for them to kill a student of the Jade district. Could Kang Shinmu really withstand it? He's dead. Outside the attack range of the two, the wild sand sword dragon sneered. He's so confident in himself. Does he really think that his physical defense is that strong? The hellbound abyssal dragon's reincarnation attribute can corrode flesh. This effect is useless on normal days, but it's very effective against a body-refining dragon martial artist like Kang Shinmu. Apart from that, it can also have extraordinary effects when dealing with demonic beasts and demonic creatures. The wild sand sword dragon's words made Xiao Yuhua and the others even more nervous. The hellbound abyssal dragon. That was referring to the divine dragon inheritance of the black dragon above Jiang Shenwu's head. The power of the infernal abyssal dragon indeed possessed the power to corrode one's physical body. Its destructive power to the physical body was several times greater. However, in the next moment, as soon as the wild sand sword dragon's voice fell, everyone saw the dust on the battlefield dissipate, and black smoke spread out. The dragon scales on the surface of Kang Shinmu's body seemed to have been damaged to a certain extent. He was injured. But to say that he would die was simply a fool's dream. Although Kang Shinmu was injured, his injury was not as serious as that of Ran Ran. Even under the effect of the dark dragon's art of filth control, Kang Shinmu and Ran Ran's injuries had already stabilized, and it didn't even affect them much. Kang Shinmu activated the Dragon God Tyrant Body Art's defensive stance, which doubled his physical defense. This was an extremely terrifying level. Even a real Jade District student might not be able to kill him, let alone these two students from the Fecta District. Even though they were the strongest in the Fecta District, they were still far from being able to kill Kang Shinmu. Attack mode. Then, Kang Shinmu changed his posture. The aura of the divine dragon body burst out from his body. The great wilderness demon rinsing sword and the shadow dragon sky roaring break attacked the infernal abyssal dragon directly above. Just now, the infernal abyssal dragon's power had indeed made Kang Shinmu feel threatened. If he hadn't activated the Dragon God Tyrant Body Technique's defensive stance, Kang Shinmu would have been heavily injured and lost the ability to fight. Although it was not enough to kill him, this trip to the Beast Abyss was probably the end. He had to return to recuperate. Therefore, at this moment, Kang Shinmu directly attacked the infernal abyssal dragon. The infernal abyssal dragon's eyes were filled with astonishment. She had never expected Kang Shinmu to possess such a violent battle strength. This defensive ability was actually able to withstand her hell-imprisoning power. Without much thought, the hellbound abyssal dragon's expression changed, and he immediately activated the South Emperor seal on his wrist. The South Emperor seal lit up, and the infernal abyssal dragon's body flickered with a white light. Then, he was about to be teleported back to the South Emperor Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Kang Shinmu, you're very strong. It would be great if I could join forces with you on the battlefield against the void beasts. The infernal abyssal dragon left these words and disappeared from the scene. Kang Shinmu was a little surprised that his attack hit empty air. He didn't expect the other party to run away just like that. It seemed like she felt that there was no need to stay here if she couldn't kill Kang Shinmu this time. As for what she said about joining forces with him on the battlefield against the void beasts, Kang Shinmu treated it as a joke. After all, she wanted to ambush and kill Kang Shinmu this time. Why would Kang Shinmu join forces with her? Let's go. Seeing this, the wild sand brilliant sword dragon didn't hesitate. The North Wilderness seal on his wrist shone with a white light and enveloped him. The young man from Donghuang Yangwu College, the wind attribute divine dragon, also retreated hurriedly and activated the East Emperor seal on his wrist. In the next moment, he disappeared from the scene. This group of people came and left quickly. Once they realized that they couldn't kill Kang Shinmu, they immediately slipped away. This made Kang Shinmu frown slightly. This group of people seems to know our location very well. I'm afraid they have some kind of treasure with them that's recording our location. They came to the Beast Abyss in advance and prepared. Xiao Yuhua and Liang Xiao said. Then, everyone looked at White Scorpion Qianbing not far away. Is this Qianbing with them? Ran was a little confused. No matter what, let's be careful. Liang Xiao said calmly. Why be so cautious? Kang Shinmu shook his head. Without thinking, he didn't remove his divine dragon form and directly flew towards White Scorpion Qianbing in his black dragon form. Void Dragon Roaring Strike. Divine Dragon Body Technique, Strong Attack Stance. Great Wilderness Demon Rinsing Sword. Kang Shinmu directly exploded his strongest attack towards White Scorpion Qianbing, who seemed to be unconscious on the ground. If Qianbing was really killed by him, it would be equivalent to eliminating an opponent for Kang Shinmu. Anyway, it was impossible for Kang Shinmu to save Qianbing. In this way, he could also see if Qianbing was with the group of people just now. When Kang Shinmu directly exploded his attack, Xiao Yuhua and the other three were a little surprised. They didn't expect Kang Shinmu to be so decisive. Immediately after, the White Scorpion Celestial Venomous Dragon body that was unconscious on the desert suddenly emitted a white light. That was the light of Emperor Shi's seal. Qianbing was indeed pretending to be unconscious. In reality, she was very awake. When she felt Kang Shinmu's sweeping attack, she immediately activated Emperor Shi's seal and escaped without thinking. Soon, Kang Shinmu's attack landed on the desert and instantly blasted a deep pit. As for White Scorpion Celestial Venomous Dragon body, it had already disappeared. Obviously, it had returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. 4 people teamed up. They are students from the Fecta region of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies. Moreover, they are all rather powerful. Who would send them to kill me? Kang Shinmu deactivated his divine dragon form and narrowed his eyes. He thought to himself, first of all, it can't be Zhuo Xiaofeng. After all, if Zhuo Xiaofeng wanted to make a move, it would be impossible for him to get the students from the 4 Dragon Martial Academies to do it together. It would only be the students from Donghuang Yangwu College. Apart from Zhuo Xiaofeng, I didn't offend anyone. Could it be the new students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy? Kang Shinmu thought to himself. Young Master Gu and young Master Liang coveted Ran and wanted to get their hands on Ran. If that was the case, they would have some motive to kill Kang Shinmu. However, this speculation was a little far-fetched and couldn't be used as evidence. Chapter 4450. White Scorpion Qianbing was furious when she returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. She did not expect that 3 top students from the Tianji zone to gang up on Kang Shinmu would not be able to do anything to Kang Shinmu. They did not even manage to kill Kang Shinmu. They did not even manage to seriously injure him. This made her extremely depressed. Moreover, she had pretended to be unconscious in the scorching desert. As a fellow student of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, Kang Shinmu should have observed her, right? No matter what, he should not have attacked her directly. She did not expect that Kang Shinmu would attack her without saying anything. She was so frightened that she immediately returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. The three of them couldn't do anything to Kang Shinmu even after ganging up on him. She would not be a match for Kang Shinmu if she was left alone. As for an explanation, Kang Shinmu did not seem like someone who would listen to her. The failure of the entire operation made White Scorpion Xian Bing look gloomy and depressed. She immediately sent a message to 9th Young Master Gu and returned to her residence. She was now a student of the Tianji Zone. She could only go to the Beast Abyss or take the initiative to go to the Void Chasm to fight against the Void Beasts. Unfortunately, she would not go face the real danger when it was not necessary. As for the Beast Abyss, she could only enter once a month. She had just come out of the Beast Abyss and naturally could not go in. Therefore, she could only cultivate in seclusion and absorb the energy of the Dragon Mark. However, with her current level 1 Divine Dragon Blood Essence, it was not easy to absorb the energy of the Dragon Mark to reach level 2 of the Dragon Emperor. On one hand, she did not know if there was a bottleneck. On the other hand, the advancement of the Divine Dragon Blood Essence at the Dragon Emperor level required a lot of Dragon Mark energy. It was not something that could be completely absorbed in a short period of time. Even with the speed at which Kang Shinmu absorbed the Dragon Mark energy, it would take at least a few months. White Scorpion Xian Bing's speed of absorbing the Dragon Mark energy was probably only 1/10 of Kang Shinmu's. Xian Bing would reach Dragon Emperor level this year. It was still too early for her to reach level 2 of the Dragon Emperor level. As for what Xian Bing was doing, Kang Shinmu was too lazy to care. After chasing White Scorpion Xian Bing out of the Beast Abyss, he continued to lead Xiao Yuhua and the others forward in the scorching desert, planning to find stronger beasts to kill. First of all, sandworms were very difficult to kill because there were too many sandworm demon emperors living in the scorching desert. If one could not kill them in one strike, it was very likely that one would have to face a large group of sandworm demon emperors. Previously, they had almost reached their limit when they were able to instantly kill the demon emperor sandworm, which was at the 3rd level of the Samsara Tribulation realm. It would be almost impossible to kill a demon emperor sandworm at the 4th level of the Reincarnation Tribulation realm. Moreover, the demon emperor sandworm at the 3rd level of the Reincarnation Tribulation realm was in the middle of eating. It had swallowed 2 insect demonic beasts at the Demon King realm, so it was at its weakest. Under normal circumstances, Kang Shinmu and the others might not be able to kill him instantly. However, it would be troublesome if he couldn't kill the sandworms instantly. Either his efforts would be in vain, or he would have to face a group of sandworm demon emperors. Kang Shinmu was not willing to face such a situation. Therefore, he was more willing to find other types of demon emperors to deal with. It would be much easier that way. Although the 5 of them had a lot of people, each of them only had inherited blood essence at the level of the Dragon King. It was easy to distinguish them from their body shapes. Therefore, under such circumstances, they had an advantage in entering the Beast Abyss compared to the other students from the Fecta Zone. This was because the demonic beasts in the Beast Abyss were basically imprisoned for committing crimes outside, so they had a natural hatred for dragon martial artists. As long as a dragon martial artist that they could kill appeared, they would definitely find a way to kill him. Unlike the other Fecta Zone dragon martial artists who appeared in the scorching desert, the demonic beasts would definitely think twice upon seeing that it was the Dragon Emperor. They would not attack him directly. But now, as Kang Shinmu and the others headed deeper into the scorching desert, 2 Demon Emperor sand scorpions flew out of the ground not long after. They carried a terrifying poisonous force and swept towards the 5 of them. They saw that Kang Shinmu and the others were all demon kings, and most of them were only at the Nirvana Tribulation realm. They looked too easy to bully, so they naturally wouldn't miss out on such a rare delicacy. To the demonic beasts in the scorching desert, they basically ate some insects on a daily basis. To them, dragon martial artists were the most nourishing tonic. Not only did they taste fresh, but the divine dragon blood essence of dragon martial artists could also improve the grade of their demonic beast bloodline. Therefore, seeing that the 5 weaklings dragon martial artists who were at the level of the Dragon King had come to the scorching desert, how could they not make a move? If they didn't make a move now, they would soon be snatched by other demon emperors. The two Demon Emperor Sand Scorpions flew out quickly. The boundless power of poison almost covered the sky and swept toward the crowd like a sandstorm. These two Demon Emperor Sand Scorpions were at the third tier of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. You guys kill the one on the left first. I'll block the one on the right. Kang Shinmu made a prompt decision and immediately rushed towards the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion on the right. He directly released the Dragon God Tyrant Body technique and covered his body with the power of the Dragon God Tyrant Body technique, making him look like a pitch-black steel wall. His black dragon body crashed into the black poisonous cloud of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion and directly broke through it. Then, he landed on the huge body of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion. The Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion was huge. Even if the tail of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion was more than 1,000 feet long, it was still more than 5,000 feet long. It looked a little smaller than the body of a divine dragon at the level of the Dragon Emperor, but not by much. Instead, its body was pitch black with mysterious and eerie patterns, giving people an extremely sinister feeling. When Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body collided with the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion, it directly knocked the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion back thousands of feet. However, the power that the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion burst out did not hurt Kang Shinmu at all. The power of the poison attribute was not a threat to Kang Shinmu at the moment, and the physical strength of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion was even less likely to hurt him. Unfortunately, it was not so easy for Kang Shinmu to kill this Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion. His attack methods were still too weak. He still had to rely on Xiao Yuhua and the other three. It was also at this moment that Xiao Yuhua and the other three had already joined forces to attack. Each of them immediately burst out their strongest attack. There were two Demon Emperor Sand Scorpions. They had to kill one of them as soon as possible and then help Kang Shinmu. The main thing was that if they did not kill one of them, they would not be able to resist the attack of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion. Even if they all burst out their strongest defense methods, they would probably be poisoned immediately. Although they would not die, it would bring them a lot of trouble. Therefore, they decided to attack first and burst out their strongest attack. Fortunately, they were always prepared. When the two Demon Emperor Sand Scorpions appeared, they subconsciously began to attack the dragon martial skill. Kill. Chapter 44-51. The Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion had never expected that the seemingly weak Dragon King dragon warriors in front of him could possess such terrifying power. Xiao Yuhua's Phoenix Dance of the Burning Sky was the first to land on the scorpion, burning up all the black poisonous gas around it. Then, she launched the sky-shattering ice slash, which, like an ice saber cutting through the sky, landed on the hard shell on the back of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion. Although the hard shell on the back of the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion was extremely hard, it instantly became a little brittle under the sudden attack of ice and fire. Then came Liang Zhao's 9 heavenly dragon blood explosion, which smashed the hard shell on the back of the scorpion with a bloody smell. The last one was Ran Ran's attack. Her dark jade extreme breaker burst forth with a terrifying destructive power. Following that, the attacks of the other three blasted into the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion's body, causing it to explode. The Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion was seriously injured by the joint attack of the four before it could exert its most powerful attack. Since the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion did not take any defensive measures, it was naturally unable to resist the violent attacks of the four. Just like the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion in the third tier of the Samsara realm, it was seriously injured by their first attack. Then, the second attack came and completely killed it in the scorching desert. Go and help Kang Shinmu. Without any hesitation, Xiao Yuhua and the other three directly went to help Kang Shinmu. All kinds of terrifying power came crashing down, directly enveloping Kang Shinmu. After all, their attacks had no effect on Kang Shinmu. Now that Kang Shinmu had knocked away the Demon Emperor Sand Scorpion, they were in the same position, and there was no way for them to avoid Kang Shinmu. Therefore, they simply bombarded Kang Shinmu together. Anyway, they could not kill Kang Shinmu. At this time, the demon emperor sand scorpion realized that its companions had been killed. It immediately wanted to turn around and escape, but unfortunately, it was held back by Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. The tough dragon claws locked the demon emperor sand scorpion like iron shackles, making it unable to escape. In the next moment, the bombardment of the four swept out like a storm of ice and fire, mixed with the power of the dark jade extreme breaker and the power of the 9 heavenly dragon blood explosion. The destructive power that erupted together directly killed the demon emperor sand scorpion. After experiencing the trial of the void monsters, the four had greatly improved their skills. Originally, Xiao Yuhua and the white-dressed girl could kill 6th-level demon kings or devil spirits with Jiang Shenwu. But now, they could fight against 3rd-level demon emperors or devil generals with their combined strength. That was because everyone, including Jiang Shenwu, had obtained an extremely large amount of cultivation resources after the trial. With the 5 of them working together, it was a piece of cake to deal with a 3rd demon emperor or demon general. The reward for killing a demon emperor was not as good as killing a demon general. Unfortunately, to kill a demon general, they had to go to the battlefield of the Void Crack, which was extremely dangerous. After all, a 3rd demon general was only a low-level demon general. In the battlefield of the Void Crack, such existences were considered relatively weak. If Kang Shinmu and the others went to the battlefield of the Void Crack, they were likely to encounter void monsters that were much stronger than them. The danger was much greater than in the Beast Abyss. In the Beast Abyss, there were demon emperors at most. Even if there were demon emperors in the 4th or 6th reincarnation realm, they would not be in danger. Most importantly, they could run away if they could not win in the Beast Abyss. In the battlefield of the Void Crack, if they could not win, they could not run away. The 2 demon emperor sand scorpions were killed by Kang Shinmu and the other 4 almost in an instant. Kang Shinmu mainly acted as a meat shield and stalled one of the scorpions. He mainly relied on the other 4 to kill the demon emperor sand scorpion. 2 demon cores of 3rd demon emperors. Not a bad harvest. Kang Shinmu was quite satisfied with the harvest this time. Let's continue forward. This is not our limit yet. Next, they continued to move deeper into the scorching desert. This was the first time the 5 of them worked together. They cooperated with each other more and more. Following that, they encountered several demon emperors in the 3rd realm. They worked together to kill them all without any accidents. After all, Kang Shinmu was there to stabilize the situation. Even if there were any accidents, he could stand up and block the attacks. After cultivating the Dragon God Tyrant Body technique, Jiang Shenwu's battle prowess was at least 2 to 3 times stronger than before. It could be said that in the Beast Abyss, unless a demon emperor at the 7th level of the Samsara realm or above appeared, it would be very difficult to pose a threat to Jiang Shenwu's life. As the 5 of them went deeper into the scorching desert, the smell of blood on them became stronger. Gradually, the demon emperors who dared to attack them became fewer and fewer. Moreover, they had not encountered a demon emperor at the 4th realm. What's going on? Could it be that there are no demon emperors at the 4th realm in the Beast Abyss? The 5 of them were a little surprised. Given the current situation, they had gained a lot from killing 3rd-tier reincarnation tribulation realm demon emperors. However, most importantly, 3rd-tier reincarnation tribulation realm demon emperors didn't dare to come out and cause trouble for them. Once they sensed their aura, they would take a detour. It was unknown whether there were circles among the demon beasts. They had heard in advance that 5 dragon martial artist students were hunting demon emperors. These demon emperors were naturally intelligent. They knew to avoid the strong and bully the weak. At first, Kang Shinmu and the others used their appearance to confuse many demon emperors. But soon, the demon emperors in the scorching desert did not fall for it and hid far away when they encountered them. As for Jiang Shenwu and the others, if they wanted to take the initiative to hunt for demonic sovereigns, it wouldn't be that easy. On the other hand, the terrain of the Raging Flame Desert was very complicated. Once they fell into the demonic beasts' traps, even Jiang Shenwu didn't have absolute confidence in escaping. If that was the case, their trip to the beast abyss would be over. The aura of demon beast blood on us is too strong. We must think of a way to solve it. After a day, Liang Xiao finally could not help but say. We have already obtained 11 demon emperor cores in the scorching desert, all from the first to the third realm of the reincarnation realm. 7 of them are demon emperors at the third realm. This is already a good harvest. Xiao Yuhua frowned and said, why don't we go back first? This harvest is not enough. Kang Xinmu shook his head. He did some calculations. If he wanted to advance from the 6th realm of the Dragon King to the 7th realm of the Dragon King, he needed a lot of natural treasures that contained the energy of the dragon mark. He could only get a third of this harvest. It was still not enough to exchange for enough natural treasures. Let's go to the Nether Sea. Chapter 44-52. And even if we encounter danger, we can leave the beast abyss directly. There's no need to worry too much. The Netherworld Sea can also wash away the stench of blood on our bodies, and we can go to other regions to hunt demon emperors. Kang Xinmu's words made the other 4's eyes light up. That was true. Even if the Netherworld Sea was too dangerous, they could still go over and wash away the stench of blood on their bodies, then go to other regions to hunt demon emperors. Even if there was no chance to hunt demon emperors in the Raging Flame Desert, there would be no problem in other regions. Therefore, everyone agreed with Kang Xinmu's suggestion. They turned around and flew towards the periphery of the Raging Flame Desert, but not at a fast speed. It could be considered a break. They flew above the clouds, and when they looked up, they could see the starry sky above them. They didn't know where the beast abyss was. Was it really outside the dragon continent? Kang Xinmu didn't think too much about it. In any case, as his strength increased, he would find out sooner or later. And everything about the black dragon consciousness in his body, I don't know why there aren't even any demon emperors in the Raging Flame Desert. Kang Xinmu still felt it was a pity. He remembered that in places like the Raging Flame Desert and the towering ancient forest, 4th-tier demon emperors still existed. Not only that, there were even stronger demon emperors. But now, there wasn't even a trace of them left, as if they had disappeared from the beast abyss. About 4 hours later, they returned to the ancient Netherworld Sea Road. Behind them was the Raging Flame Desert, and in front of them was the Netherworld Sea. The clouds above them also formed a clear boundary above the ancient Netherworld Sea Road. The clouds above the Raging Flame Desert were illuminated by the sun, and under the scorching sunlight, there was an incomparably hot temperature. But above the Netherworld Sea were dark clouds. Within the dark clouds, lightning flashed, as if a violent storm was coming. The entire sky above the Netherworld Sea was dusky, and it was difficult to see anything clearly. Only when the lightning flashed could they see the surging waves and tides. In the Netherworld Sea, there seemed to be countless terrifying and powerful demon beasts. Faint roars of deep-sea whales could be heard from the depths of the Netherworld Sea. This is the Netherworld Sea. Kang Xinmu and the other 4 carefully looked at the Netherworld Sea, and their hearts were still somewhat anxious. Fortunately, the ocean was not a forbidden zone for dragon warriors. Many dragon warriors could even swim in the ocean and live in it for a long time. It was said that the divine dragon was originally a creature of the sea. It was just that Xiao Yuhua would feel a bit uncomfortable. Her fire attribute energy would definitely be suppressed in the Netherworld Ocean. If it was just an ordinary ocean, it would not be able to suppress the power of a dragon martial artist. However, the seawater of the Netherworld Sea was said to be different from ordinary seawater. It was the water of the heavy sea. The demonic beasts that could survive in it were not easy to deal with. If we encounter a level 3 demon monarch in the Nether Sea, I'm afraid it will be the same as dealing with a level 4 demon monarch in the scorching desert. If I encounter a 4th level deep sea demon emperor, it's very likely that I'll encounter a 5th level demon emperor outside. Everyone understood this very well. However, their first goal was not to go to the Netherworld Sea to kill demon emperors. Instead, they had to wash off the bloody aura of demon beasts on their bodies. They had killed too many demon beasts. Under the scorching sun of the scorching desert, the bloodstains had dried up. However, they still emitted a dangerous aura that made people's hearts palpitate. As the cold feeling permeated their bodies, the smell of blood on them was constantly being removed. The entire sea began to emit a bloody smell, which spread to the distant deep sea. There seems to be a sound. After a while, the red divine dragon formed by Xiao Yuhua stared in a direction. They had originally planned to first get close to the shore to wash away the smell of blood on their bodies, but at this moment, a strange sound came, and all 5 of them became alert. Kang Shinmu's perception was still the strongest. He looked in the direction of the strange sound, and suddenly saw a huge figure approaching them in the netherworld sea. In the darkness, the huge figure seemed to cover the sky, appearing at the edge of their vision, and approaching at an unimaginable speed. It's the deep-sea demon monarch. It should be the 6th tier of the rebirth tribulation realm. Kang Shinmu's expression changed slightly, and he was ready for battle. He would not directly plan to escape. Just by looking at the speed of the other party in the deep sea, he knew that it was impossible for them to escape. It would almost catch up with them in a single move. I'll stop it. You guys leave the surface of the sea and go to the ancient netherworld sea path first. Kang Shinmu made a prompt decision, and the dragon god tyrant body technique directly burst into a defensive state. He rushed out of the seawater, and directly swam towards the huge figure. That huge figure was more than 10,000 feet in size. As it got closer, Kang Shinmu realized that it was actually a terrifying strange fish the size of a small mountain. Its body was covered with tens of thousands of sharp teeth, and its head was very small, but there were at least thousands of pupils on its round head. What kind of demonic beast was this? Kang Shinmu had never seen it before. Chapter 44-53. Although Kang Shinmu had never seen such a terrifying monster fish before, he could clearly sense that it was a demon emperor at the 6th tier of the rebirth tribulation realm. Moreover, those with the bloodline of a demon emperor were basically only at the 1st tier of the demon emperor. It was rare to see a demon emperor at the 2nd tier. This limited the strength of a demon emperor. Kang Shinmu's body was surrounded by the power of the divine dragon tyrant body. He was like a small steel mountain as he charged straight at the terrifying monster fish demon emperor. Seeing this, the terrifying monster fish demon emperor let out a strange cry. An extremely sharp ice elemental power erupted from its body and swept towards Kang Shinmu like a storm. The ice elemental power condensed into icicles at the bottom of the sea, causing chaos in the nearby sea. These icicles seemed to have condensed into an iceberg with countless icicles and instantly bombarded Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. With a loud bang, Kang Shinmu felt like his entire divine dragon body was being torn apart. Countless divine dragon blood flowed out of his body, and the dragon scales all over his body suffered a near-fatal blow. The terrifying monster fish demon emperor only needed one attack to seriously injure Kang Shinmu. However, because Kang Shinmu rushed up to block the monster fish for a moment, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 had already flown above the netherworld sea. They left this sea region and soared above the ancient netherworld sea path. Immediately after, Kang Shinmu followed the monster fish's attack and retreated rapidly. With a roar, he flew towards the surface of the sea. It was too disadvantageous to fight such a terrifying monster fish at the bottom of the sea. Kang Shinmu didn't know if that move was the monster fish's strongest move. If it wasn't, then Kang Shinmu's life might be in danger if he continued to tangle with the monster fish at the bottom of the sea. Therefore, he followed the monster's attack and was pushed back by the monster fish's power. He flew out of the netherworld sea in one fell swoop. Moreover, the devouring power in his body immediately fused with the power of the dragon-marked blood pendant. The blood-red devouring power began to devour the ice elemental energy that came from the strange fish on his body. This ice-attributed energy was incomparably cold and gloomy. The chill even seeped into Kang Shinmu's body, causing the energy within Kang Shinmu's body to almost be completely frozen. Fortunately, the devouring power surged out, allowing him to devour all of the strange fish's cold energy into his body. Not only could he use this part of the power, but it also strengthened his resistance against cold attribute power. Originally, Kang Shinmu had been hunting demon sovereigns in the fiery desert and had never met an opponent with the ice element. Therefore, his resistance to the ice element was not very strong. However, now that he had devoured the strange fish's power, his resistance to ice attribute powers had risen to a whole new level. If he had been hit by the strange fish's attack just now, he might not have died. Of course, now that he was seriously injured, he could not recover quickly just by relying on the Dark Dragon's inferiority spell. Therefore, he could only devour a demon core that he had originally stored to recover from his injuries. Even with the recovery of the devouring power, he could not completely recover in an instant. Therefore, the current Kang Shinmu could be said to be in a more dangerous situation. Immediately after, everyone saw a huge wave rise on the surface of the Netherworld Sea. Then, a huge figure flew out of the Netherworld Sea. It was that terrifying strange fish. The terrifying strange fish appeared and flew straight towards Kang Shinmu, who had not flown far away. Countless ice cones exploded from the Netherworld Sea and formed several ice spikes at the same time, sweeping towards Kang Shinmu. The ice spikes locked onto Kang Shinmu. The terrifying ice aura reached him in the blink of an eye and was about to engulf him. If he were to suffer the attacks of these ice spikes at the same time, even if he had an extremely strong resistance to ice attribute powers, it would be impossible for him to survive. The terrifying strange fish was too strong, and its speed was too fast. It did not give Kang Shinmu the slightest time to prepare when it launched its attack. Sunset Shadow Streak. At this crucial moment, Jiang Shenwu finally activated the shadowy sunset flash that he had just recently practiced. Now, no movement technique could help him dodge his opponent's attack. Only the shadowy sunset flash could allow him to break through the void. It was a high-grade origin dragon martial technique that allowed him to instantly dodge his opponent's attack. The next moment, Kang Shinmu's black dragon body appeared in the air thousands of feet away. Immediately after, the ice spikes collided with each other and exploded. Endless ice storms swept out in all directions and directly rolled onto Kang Shinmu's body. Even though it was just the aftermath of this attack, it was difficult for Kang Shinmu to bear. His divine dragon body, which had not yet recovered, suffered even more injuries. Devour. Jiang Shenwu did not let go of this opportunity in the slightest, and completely engulfed the ice energy that was spreading out. Of course, he only devoured the ice storm power that flew towards him and did not care about the power from other directions. This was because he did not have the time to devour the ice storm power from other directions. The terrifying strange fish seemed to be very surprised that it could not kill Kang Shinmu. Therefore, it launched an attack on Kang Shinmu again. The ice power erupted from all directions around Kang Shinmu. The power of ice condensed into ice crystals that carried an incomparably sharp aura, decorating the entire space like it was a frozen tundra. Cold winds blew through the air. In the next moment, these ice crystals instantly enveloped Kang Shinmu. There were ice crystals in all directions, and the ice power's aura even froze Kang Shinmu's power. Devour. Jiang Shenwu activated his devouring power and barely managed to devour a portion of the power of those ice crystals, dissolving the frozen power within his body. Then, he once again erupted with the blade's shadow flowing cloud flash, flashing towards a distance of 3 kilometers away. The ice crystals once again collided with each other, bursting out layers of ice storm ripples that swept out in all directions. Even Xiao Yuhua and the others, who were several tens of thousands of meters away, were blown away by the ice storm and could not fly steadily. And Kang Shinmu was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Countless ice crystal storms covered the power of his divine dragon tyrant body, directly shattering the layer of his divine dragon tyrant body. Fortunately, Kang Shinmu had devoured a lot of ice attribute power, so his resistance to ice attribute power had reached a very strong level. The aftermath of the opponent's attack did not kill Kang Shinmu, but it made him even stronger. Roar! Seeing that Kang Shinmu was still alive, the terrifying strange fish that had already flown into the air roared. It no longer had the patience to play with Kang Shinmu. It seemed to be eager to swallow the black dragon in front of it as its food. In an instant, the temperature within a radius of 10,000 zhang plummeted. Almost in an instant, several layers of ice barriers enveloped Jiang Shenwu's entire body. Chapter 44-54. A total of 9 layers of ice barriers erupted from the body of the terrifying fish demon emperor and enveloped Kang Shinmu's entire black dragon body. This time, Kang Shinmu had nowhere to hide and could only take the attack head-on. Devour. Under the cover of the power of the Dragon Scar blood pendant, the devouring power surrounded the black dragon's entire body, as if turning the black dragon into a blood-red dragon. The devouring power covered by the blood-red color frantically devoured the surrounding ice barrier's power. This happened several times in a row, and finally, Kang Shinmu's resistance to ice attribute power reached the extreme. In the next moment, the 9 layers of ice barrier exploded in an instant. The boundless power of ice shattered like a collapsing planet. Then, it collapsed toward the black dragon, forming a ball of ice in midair. The ball of ice was extremely strong, and it shrank from tens of thousands of feet to only a few hundred feet, becoming an ice crystal ball that trapped the black dragon within. If it were any other dragon martial artist, they would have been buried by this 9 layers of ice barrier, and not even their corpses would have been left. This was a terrifying pressure that could completely squeeze the victim into the center of the ice ball. Unfortunately, the one being attacked by this 9 layers of ice barrier was Kang Shinmu. Buried and submerged by the 9 layers of ice barrier, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 looked over in shock. They saw that Kang Shinmu's black dragon body was surrounded by layers of ice crystals, and the barrier was shrinking, squeezing him into the center of the ice ball. It looked as if Kang Shinmu's entire divine dragon body was buried inside. Such a scene was extremely worrying. No one knew how Kang Shinmu was doing now. The terrifying fish demon emperor from the depths of the netherworld sea did not think that Kang Shinmu had a chance of survival. Although it was surprised that Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body was still intact and had not been crushed into powder by the 9 layers of ice barrier, Kang Shinmu had withstood several of its attacks, after all. Such physical strength was considered normal. No matter what, the terrifying fish didn't think that Kang Shinmu could come back to life. As a result, the monstrous fish's gigantic figure brought with it countless ice crystals from the sky. It even attracted the boundless power of thunder and lightning from the dark clouds in the sky, which wrapped around the monstrous fish's body. With an earth-shattering might, a row of icicles and lightning spikes condensed in front of the monstrous fish demon emperor, sweeping towards Xiao Yuhua and the others hundreds of thousands of feet away. Dodge! Xiao Yuhua's expression changed slightly. She immediately shouted and retreated toward the ancient nether sea path. She glanced at Kang Shinmu, who was trapped in the center of the 9-layered ice crystal barrier. Although she was very worried about Kang Shinmu's current situation, it was clear that the few of them could not even protect themselves. He had to dodge this attack. The lightning fused with the ice crystals, and the endless icicles and lightning spikes actually broke through space in an instant. They swept over at an incomparably terrifying and unimaginable speed, bringing with them a flash of lightning that streaked across the sky. The monstrous fish wanted to kill Xiao Yuhua and the others in one fell swoop. After releasing the icicles and lightning spikes, its gigantic body, which was thousands of feet long, sped towards Xiao Yuhua and the others. Although the terrifying demon beasts in the depths of the Nether Sea would generally not leave the Nether Sea, given the current situation, this monstrous fish was very likely to think that Kang Shinmu and the others had trespassed into its territory. Hence, it was so angry that it wanted to kill them all, even if it had to leave the Nether Sea. Kang Shinmu did not know that much. At this moment, he was frozen in the center of the 9-layered ice barrier, and his entire body felt endless cold. Unfortunately, this cold did not cause him the slightest bit of harm. On the other hand, the collapse of the 9-layered frost barrier had caused him some tremor injuries. However, he did not die, nor did he lose consciousness. The top-notch ice attribute resistance made him practically immune to ice attribute attacks. Just as the monstrous fish launched its attack towards Xiao Yuhua and the others, layer upon layer of ice barrier suddenly appeared in the sky, actually enveloping a portion of the space around the monstrous fish's body. 9-layered ice barrier. This time, Kang Xinmu discovered a wonderful use of the devouring power. As long as it was a power of the same origin, he could devour it and convert it. For example, right now, Kang Xinmu had devoured countless ice attribute powers from the monstrous fish demon emperor. These elemental powers could be used by Kang Xinmu for his own use. However, if he released them in their original form, they would only have half the power of the monstrous fish's attack. But now, Kang Xinmu had released the complete 9-layered ice barrier, and this time, the power of the ice barrier that Kang Xinmu released was even greater than the monstrous fish demon emperor's own attack. All the powers that Kang Xinmu had devoured in the previous battle had been gathered and condensed into this 9-layered ice barrier. The monstrous fish clearly did not expect this. The icicles and lightning spikes it released towards Xiao Yuhua and the others were all blocked by the 9-layered ice barrier. Before the others could react, the 9-layered ice barrier actually let out a rumbling sound in the next instant, and in the next instant, it collapsed towards the monstrous fish demon emperor. The strongest explosive power of the 9-layered ice barrier was collapse. Kang Xinmu was frozen in the center of the 9-layered ice barrier when it collapsed. At this moment, he also displayed this move, and used the ice attribute powers that he had devoured to directly bombard the monstrous fish demon emperor. Kang Xinmu had only endured half of the 9-layered ice barrier's power, and the other half had been devoured immediately. The monstrous fish demon emperor, on the other hand, had endured half of the power of the attack it had just unleashed, which had already surpassed its complete 9-layered ice barrier. In other words, at this moment, the strength of the collapse of the ice barrier that the monstrous fish demon emperor had endured was 2 or 3 times more than what Kang Xinmu had endured. The monstrous fish demon emperor had not expected such a situation at all. It was only stunned for a moment before the 9-layered ice barrier around its huge body collapsed in an instant. The endless power of ice came crashing down, and it was as if 10,000 avalanches had occurred at the same time. The monstrous fish demon emperor had originally wanted to kill Xiao Yuhua and the others, but it did not expect that Kang Xinmu, who had been frozen by the 9-layered ice barrier, would be able to unleash such power and use its own method to deal with it. The monstrous fish demon emperor had no power to resist at all. Its physical body was very strong, but in the face of the collapse of the 9-layered ice barrier, which was even more powerful than its strongest attack, it had no room to resist. Chapter 44-55. The terrifying demon emperor never expected that there would be a dragon martial artist that possessed such a technique. The most unexpected thing was that a mere dragon king at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm actually possessed such a terrifying strength. Before it died, it had sensed that this 9-layered ice boundary had been released by the black dragon it had trapped. This was most likely a type of innate ability to counterattack. However, the demon emperor had never seen such a tyrannical counterattack inherent skill that could actually counterattack an attack of its level. After all, it was a demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation realm. Wasn't this black dragon too heaven-defying? Where did it come from? Unfortunately, the terrifying demon emperor fish's body was completely crushed by the 9-layered ice barrier and it lost all of its consciousness. No matter how confused it was, no one would answer its questions. A demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation realm. It was actually killed by Kang Xinmu himself? Everyone present felt that it was a little unbelievable. Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 widened their eyes. They had never expected such an outcome. Originally, they had planned to escape from this place and temporarily avoid being hit by the terrifying fish's icicles and lightning spikes. However, they had never expected that Kang Shinmu would actually envelop the icicles and lightning spikes along with the terrifying fish's huge body into the 9-layered ice barrier and shatter them all together. Wasn't Kang Shinmu's technique too terrifying? Even the legendary counterattack inherent skill couldn't do it to such an extent. After all, although the counterattack inherent skill could use the opponent's strength to counterattack, there was still a limit to it. For example, a Dragon King at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm like Kang Shinmu should have been unable to withstand the terrifying fish's attack and counterattack it. The difference between their levels was too great. Everyone realized that Kang Shinmu's technique was definitely not some counterattack inherent skill, but a kind of inherent skill that was even more heaven-defying than the counterattack inherent skill. A special devouring power? Xiao Yuhua thought to herself, but she couldn't be sure. Among the four of them, Ran was the only one who understood Kang Shinmu's power the most. However, she naturally couldn't say it out loud. This was Kang Shinmu's own secret. Even Xiao Yuhua and the white-dressed girl wouldn't want to ask about it. In any case, they were comrades fighting together with Kang Shinmu. This guarantee was enough. Anyway, if they acted together with Kang Shinmu, there would only be benefits. Brother Jiang, are you okay? Ran watched as the terrifying fish was directly buried in the ice mountain formed by the 9 layers frost boundary, and without the slightest hesitation, she flew towards Kang Shinmu who was in the air. At this moment, the ice mountain around Kang Shinmu was finally broken by him. It shattered into pieces of ice crystals and fell into the netherworld sea below. Kang Shinmu's black dragon body regained its freedom. When he saw Ran flying over, he also removed his divine dragon form. He smiled and said, "I'm fine." Fortunately, this strange fish demon emperor didn't use the 9 layers frost boundary right from the start. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have been able to kill it. Generally speaking, one could only rely on the first strike to kill Kang Shinmu. If one couldn't kill Kang Shinmu with the first strike, it would become more and more difficult to kill Kang Shinmu later on. Therefore, Kang Shinmu's previous speculation that he could deal with a demon emperor in the 5th tier of the rebirth tribulation state was a more reliable statement. If this terrifying demon emperor in the 6th tier of the rebirth tribulation state underestimated him, he still had a chance to kill it instead. Moreover, he had single-handedly killed it. Who asked this strange fish demon beast to be so strong in attack? Kang Shinmu could directly devour the opponent's attack and then counterattack. He could kill it directly with one move. But then again, if the attack was not strong enough, it would not be able to pose a threat to Kang Shinmu. With Kang Shinmu restraining the other party, Xiao Yuhua and the others would attack together. Sooner or later, they would exhaust the other party to death. It could be said that Kang Shinmu's team basically had no weaknesses. With Kang Shinmu's defense, they were absolutely safe. With Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 to complement their attack, they could be considered a rather terrifying team. The demon core of this demon emperor in the 6th tier of the rebirth tribulation state can be exchanged for a lot of experience points. Brother Jiang, this demon core belongs to you. After all, we didn't do anything in this battle. You killed it alone. Liang Xiao stepped forward and shattered the 9 layers frost boundary. Then, he took out the demon core of the strange fish and handed it to Kang Shinmu. No one had any objections to this. Kang Shinmu did not feel embarrassed. It was true that he had dealt with the strange fish alone from the beginning to the end, so he did not feel too pretentious. In any case, he did need these experience points. What should we do next? At this moment, Ran looked at the churning pitch-black nether sea below and felt a little uneasy. They had just entered the nether sea and already attracted such a terrifying demon emperor. It was hard to imagine what kind of existences there were in the depths of the nether sea. It was no wonder that in the history of the Dragon Martial Academy, very few people went to the nether sea. If one's combat power was not strong enough, going to the nether sea was really courting death. This time, although Kang Shinmu and the others looked too weak, the terrifying demon emperor followed the smell of blood and attacked them directly. However, even if the 4th or 5th tier of the rebirth tribulation state dragon emperor came over, the terrifying fish would still attack them. Looking stronger would only make some small fries retreat. A truly terrifying existence did not fear one's strength at all. We have washed away the smell of blood on us. Let's change direction and hunt other demonic beasts. Kang Shinmu thought for a while and made a decision. They could not go to the Nether Sea anymore. It was too dangerous, and if they were not careful, they might all die here. In this mission, Kang Shinmu obtained the Demon Emperor's demon core alone. It was a huge harvest, but the others did not have much. Therefore, Kang Shinmu did not want to go back so soon. Everyone agreed with Kang Shinmu's decision. Just as the 5 of them were about to follow the ancient Nether Sea path to the north, an incomparably huge figure of a divine dragon suddenly appeared in the sky. The figure of the divine dragon seemed to be reflected in the sky, and a pair of divine dragon eyes showed endless might. That is, a supreme divine dragon? The 5 of them were stunned by this scene. They felt the dense wind around them, and the clouds in the sky changed color. Regardless of whether it was the dark clouds or the white clouds, they were all blown into a whirlwind and quickly dispersed into the surroundings. As the figure of the divine dragon appeared, even the sunlight was slightly distorted. Why would a supreme divine dragon suddenly appear in the sky above the ancient Nether Sea path? Chapter 44-56. The appearance of the dragon made Kang Shinmu and the other 4 deactivate their divine dragon forms and bow respectfully to the dragon. The appearance of the divine dragon meant that it had something to say or instruct them. Jiang Shenwu had never seen the figure of the supreme divine dragon before. It should not be the supreme divine dragon represented by Emperor Dong or Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. It wasn't the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy or the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon. Then, it could be the representative of the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy or the South Emperor Dragon Martial Academy. That peerless dragon appeared in the clouds, and the wind and clouds changed color. A pair of divine dragon eyes looked directly at Kang Shinmu and the other 4. You guys actually killed the 6th tier rebirth tribulation state Nether Sea Demon Emperor. Your strength is commendable. This situation is beyond my expectations. I thought that after the students from the Dubhe and Tianxian districts went to the Void Crack battlefield, there wouldn't be any students who could kill a demon emperor above the 3rd tier rebirth tribulation state. In the end, all the demonic beasts in the beast abyss that are above the 3rd tier rebirth tribulation state have been sent away. Only the demonic beasts in the Nether Sea have not moved. Originally, I thought that there was no need to do anything. However, your actions have really surprised me. These words made Kang Shinmu and the other 4 understand something. No wonder they couldn't find a demon emperor above the 4th tier in the flaming desert. That was because the divine dragon thought that the students from the Dubhe and Tianxian districts were forced to go to the Void Crack battlefield. The students who came to the Beast Abyss to train definitely couldn't kill a demon emperor above the 3rd tier. After all, even the strongest in the Dubhe district could only fight to a draw with a demon emperor above the 3rd tier. If they were lucky, they could kill the demon emperor. But it was basically impossible for a demon emperor to be killed by a student from the Dubhe district. If they could do it, they must be at the level of the Tianxian district. Unfortunately, even the divine dragon didn't expect that a student from the Dubhe district from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy could single-handedly kill a demon emperor at the 6th tier of the rebirth tribulation state deep in the Nether Sea. This method was beyond the knowledge of ordinary people. Even the supreme dragon god would not have thought of it. However, although you are able to kill the 6th-layer demon emperor of the Nether Ocean, it is still impossible for you to enter the Nether Ocean. Therefore, this exalted one will seal off the Netherworld Sea. I hope you can understand. The voice of the peerless dragon's shadow was like rolling thunder that descended from the sky. When Kang Shinmu and the others heard this, they immediately understood the current situation. In any case, they did not intend to enter the Netherworld Sea again. So what if it was sealed? Kang Shinmu asked, "May I ask, Senior, since the Netherworld Sea is closed, can I still exchange my monster core for experience points?" "Of course, that's possible." The Supreme Dragon Shadow replied with a smile. Then, without any movement, a beam of divine light descended from the sky and landed on the side of the ancient Underworld Sea Road. The entire Netherworld Sea was separated from the ancient Underworld Sea Road by this beam of divine light. Kang Shinmu and the others happened to be on the ancient Underworld Sea Road. When they looked at the Netherworld Sea again, they realized that everything in the Netherworld Sea had become a little blurry. Even the dark clouds and the surface of the sea could not be seen clearly. It was as if they were looking at flowers in the fog, or as if they were looking at a world in a mirror. The Netherworld Sea had been isolated. As for Kang Shinmu and the others, it seemed that they could only go to other areas to hunt demon emperors. "The five of you," the Supreme Dragon Shadow observed Kang Shinmu and the others, as if thinking about how to arrange for them. Very quickly, it came to a conclusion. "With your current strength, you will not be able to get any tests in the Beast Abyss. It will not be of any help to improve your fighting spirit. Why don't you go directly to the Void Crack battlefield? The Void Crack battlefield is where you should go. Now that the situation is urgent, you should also do your part for the Dragon Martial Continent." Hearing the Supreme Dragon Shadow's words, Kang Shinmu felt like crying. He did not really want to go to the Void Crack battlefield before he had mastered the Wind Shadow Flowing Flash. In the end, he was actually caught by the Supreme Divine Dragon. This was too tragic. However, Kang Shinmu did not dare to disobey the Supreme Dragon Shadow's orders. After all, the Supreme Divine Dragon was far above his level. Not to mention others, even if the Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Yuyaji, wanted Kang Shinmu to go directly to the Void Crack battlefield, Kang Shinmu would obey. Not to mention the Supreme Divine Dragon's level. "Of course, I can see that the Dragon Martial technique that you have cultivated is a little special. If you encounter danger, I am afraid that you will not even be able to escape," the Supreme Dragon Shadow chuckled and said in a thunderous voice, "Since I forced you to go, I will give each of you a protective talisman. It can protect your life when you are in danger. If the five of you keep moving together, you will have 5 chances to save your lives. That should be enough for you." The Supreme Divine Dragon's words made Kang Shinmu and the others overjoyed. One must know that the reason why they did not go to the Void Crack battlefield to hunt the Void Beasts was because they felt that they were not prepared. Hunting the Void Beasts would be extremely dangerous. But now, this Supreme Godly Dragon actually said that he would give each of them a life-saving treasure. This would completely eliminate their worries. Most importantly, the experience points obtained by hunting the Void Beasts in the Void Crack battlefield were definitely more than the experience points obtained in the Beast Abyss. The experience points obtained by hunting the Void Beasts of the same level were at least more than half of the experience points obtained by hunting the demonic beasts. With the guarantee of safety, Kang Shinmu was naturally more willing to go to the Void Crack battlefield to hunt the Void Beasts. The situation in the Void Crack battlefield is much more dangerous than the Beast Abyss. "The 5 of us, of course, have to move together," Kang Shinmu said with certainty. "That's right." Immediately after, 5 sparkling little stars appeared under the unparalleled dragon shadow and fell towards the 5 of them. The 5 sparkling little stars quickly tore through the sky and appeared in front of Kang Shinmu and the others. They realized that the 5 little stars were actually 5 small crystals that seemed to be stained with the aura of the Supreme Divine Dragon. Before they could take a good look at the 5 crystals and feel the power within them, the 5 small crystals suddenly accelerated and directly crashed into the 5 of their heads. There was no strange feeling of being touched. They only felt as if some kind of power had entered their heads, but they could not sense its existence no matter how hard they tried. These 5 little crystals are protective crystals condensed by this noble Lord Supreme Mystical Dragon power. As long as you are in danger, the protective crystals will shatter and the power will spread to protect you. As long as it is not a supreme level power, it will definitely not be able to hurt you. Chapter 44-57. The protective crystal sounded like a good item. The key was that it contained the power of the Supreme Divine Dragon, which could protect its owner. This made Kang Shinmu feel relieved. The Supreme Divine Dragon wouldn't lie to them, right? Moreover, according to the Supreme Dragon Shadow's explanation, each of them had a protective crystal that could protect them once. It seemed to be a large-scale protection. As long as the 5 of them stayed together, they would be protected by the protective crystal and wouldn't be invaded by external forces. In this way, each of them had 5 lives, which added up to 25 lives. This was simply too awesome. Without a doubt, the Supreme Dragon Shadow saw that Kang Shinmu and the others were quite talented and felt that it would be a pity for them to die in the Void Crack battlefield, so he gave them the protective crystals. After all, with his cultivation at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm and the grade of the Dragon King's Blood Essence, he was able to defeat a 6th level Demon Emperor at the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. This battle record was simply earth-shattering. If Kang Shinmu grew up, it would definitely be a great blessing for the Dragon Martial Continent. And for the void demonic creatures in the Void Crack, it would undoubtedly be a disaster. Therefore, after seeing Kang Shinmu defeat the Demon Emperor, the Supreme Dragon Shadow appreciated his talent and gave him 5 protective crystals to protect Kang Shinmu and the others. And letting them go to the Void Crack battlefield was also for their growth. Think about it, the strongest in the Beast Abyss was only a 3rd level Demon Emperor, which was of no use to them at all. In other words, it was simply impossible for Kang Shinmu to practice the Wind Shadow Flowing Cloud Flash here, because there was no opponent that could force him to use the evading dragon martial technique. If he wanted to become stronger in a faster time, there was no doubt that he had to fight evenly with an opponent that was on par with him. Otherwise, it would be difficult to have any effect. The Void Crack battlefield was such a suitable place for Kang Shinmu to train. Thank you, Senior. Let's go back and rest for a while, then prepare to head to the Void Crack battlefield. Kang Shinmu said respectfully to the Supreme Dragon Shadow. Not bad. Along with this satisfied praise, the Supreme Dragon Shadow also gradually dissipated from the sky above, as if it had never appeared. That Supreme Dragon Shadow wasn't the true body of the Supreme Divine Dragon. It was just a projection. However, even though it was just a projection, it still contained an incomparably tyrannical power. It was an unparalleled level of power, and it could even directly seal the space at the edge of the Netherworld Sea. From this, one could see how powerful the unparalleled Divine Dragon was. Not to mention that Kang Shinmu was only a Dragon King. Even if he was at the level of the Dragon Emperor, he was still too far away from the Supreme Divine Dragon. Even the Super Shinran was much, much stronger than the Dragon Emperor. After the Supreme Dragon Shadow disappeared, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 heaved a sigh of relief. They had faced too much pressure just now. Kang Shinmu, it's not easy for you to speak just now. There was a complicated look in Xiao Yuhua's eyes. In the situation just now, she didn't even dare to breathe, let alone speak. However, Kang Shinmu was able to communicate with the Supreme Dragon Shadow without any hindrance, which made her admire him. Unbeknownst to her, although the Supreme Dragon Shadow's aura was powerful, Kang Shinmu had seen even more powerful ones, and not just one kind. Back in the Sealing Dragon Abyss, the fatal threat he felt was even more terrifying than the aura of the Supreme Divine Dragon. And when the Black Dragon consciousness in his body erupted with full force, it was also no weaker than the aura of the Supreme Divine Dragon. The fact that Kang Shinmu could speak just now could only mean that his past experiences were richer and more tortuous than others. It couldn't be seen how strong his spiritual will was. Kang Shinmu sighed. This is nothing. After facing the Supreme Divine Dragon a few more times in the future, I'll get used to it. You speak as if you've seen the Supreme Divine Dragon many times. The girl in the white dress laughed softly. Kang Shinmu didn't say anything. It was true that he hadn't seen the Supreme Divine Dragon many times, but the other existences he had seen were probably more powerful than the Supreme Divine Dragon. After the Supreme Dragon Shadow disappeared, Kang Shinmu and the other 4 didn't stay in the Beast Abyss for long. They directly returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy with their spoils of war. Translator, WQL Editor, Alim. In the Exchange Center of Experience Points, Jiang Shenwu took out a terrifying monster core of a strange fish monster emperor, which made the instructor dumbfounded. This is the demon core of a demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation state. Mentor Dragon Emperor exclaimed, attracting the attention of many people around. After all, Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy had expanded a lot, and the number of students had doubled. It was still in a period of rapid development, so there were naturally many students at the Experience Points Exchange office. Hearing Mentor Dragon Emperor's exclamation, many people looked over in surprise. When they saw that it was Kang Shinmu, they couldn't help but whisper. Now, the students at the Experience Points Exchange office were basically students from the Fekta zone and below. There wouldn't be students from the Dubhe zone or the Merak zone. It was said that the points obtained from killing void demons weren't called experience points, but demon hunting points. The demon hunting points didn't need to be exchanged at the Dragon Martial Academy. Instead, they could be exchanged for the cultivation resources they needed at the Dragon Martial Academy's base in the Void Crack battlefield. Therefore, which student in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy could fight against a demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation state? Even if all the students at the Experience Points Exchange office joined forces, they would still be killed in an instant. Hearing that Kang Shinmu had obtained such a high-level demon emperor's demon core, everyone was so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. Among the crowd, there were 2 girls who were on good terms with White Scorpion Xianbing. When they heard this, they immediately left secretly to tell White Scorpion Xianbing the news. Kang Shinmu's team could kill a powerful demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation state. It was better not to provoke him anymore. Otherwise, they might not even know how they died. In fact, that was the case. This time, Kang Shinmu was assassinated by White Scorpion Xianbing and her team in the Beast Abyss. They still had a chance to escape. If they met on the Void Crack battlefield, if Kang Shinmu wanted to kill them instead, they could forget about escaping. Their lives would be forfeit. Therefore, the 2 girls were worried that White Scorpion Xianbing didn't know about Kang Shinmu's strength, so they ran over to tell her the news. A person who could kill a demon emperor at the 6th level of the rebirth tribulation state was already a powerful existence in the Merak zone. He might even be able to enter the Fekta zone. A mere White Scorpion Xianbing wouldn't be a match for Kang Shinmu even if she cultivated for another 3 to 5 years. It was better to give up on making an enemy out of Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu. Suddenly, Mentor Dragon Emperor seemed to have received some news. He smiled bitterly at Kang Shinmu and said, "The Dean just sent me a message. He said that all your gains from the Beast Abyss have been exchanged for demon hunting points. You can only receive and exchange them at the Void Crack battlefield." Hearing this news, Kang Shinmu was a little dumbfounded. Chapter 44-58. That unparalleled divine dragon had even calculated all of this. Kang Shinmu originally wanted to first digest the experience points he had obtained this time and convert them into his own strength before heading to the Void Rift battlefield. But the Supreme Dragon God did not seem to give him the chance and directly arranged for Kang Shinmu to convert all the experience points he had obtained this time into demon hunting points, so that he could head to the Void Rift battlefield to collect them. Not only Kang Shinmu, but Xiao Yuhua, Ran and the other 2 seemed to be the same. If that's the case, then there's no other way. Kang Shinmu sighed. It seemed like he could only make a trip to the Void Rift battlefield first. Since the Supreme Dragon God had already made such arrangements, it was impossible for him not to go. I heard that demon hunting points can be exchanged for some things that can't be exchanged in the academy. I wonder what it is. Liang Xiao looked a little eager, but he quickly sighed. Unfortunately, with my demon hunting points, even if there's something good, I won't be able to exchange for it. But Brother Jiang, you can look forward to it. Who knows, maybe there's something good in the demon hunter battlefield that can be exchanged with demon hunting points. That's much more cost-effective than exchanging for experience points in the academy. That's right. Kang Shinmu listened and nodded. Demon hunting points were not easy to come by. They were points that could be obtained by killing void monsters in the Void Rift battlefield. They were much harder and more precious than experience points. There was actually no danger in obtaining experience points. But to obtain a large number of demon hunting points, it was very likely that they would encounter extremely serious dangers. In the Void Rift battlefield, the most dangerous thing is that in the area near the Void Rift, spatial power cannot be used. At this time, the Dragon Emperor at the Experience Point Exchange Office smiled at Kang Shinmu and said, "If you are in the Dragon Martial Continent, you can use Emperor Shi's seal to ask for help when you are in danger. But in the Void Rift battlefield, even if you spread the news of danger, the mentor will not be able to arrive in time." "Thank you for the reminder, mentor." Kang Shinmu nodded and said, "Then let's go to the Void Crack battlefield first." Kang Shinmu had already expected the situation that Mentor Dragon Emperor had mentioned. Otherwise, why would he say that in the Void Crack battlefield, encountering danger was really dangerous? If he could ask his mentor for help, Kang Shinmu would not be afraid of anyone. After all, his Emperor Shi's seal was personally left behind by Headmaster Yu Yaji. It could allow Yu Yaji to teleport here directly. Unfortunately, because it was close to the Void Crack battlefield, the spatial energy there was very chaotic. Even a powerful dragon warrior like Yu Yaji would not be able to use her spatial training in that kind of place, and carry out spatial travel. Once she forcefully used it, it was very likely that she would be exiled into the void, and would never be able to return. As for Kang Shinmu's wind shadow flowing cloud flash, it didn't belong to this list, because it was only a short distance teleportation. Although it passed through space, the energy level wasn't high, so it wouldn't cause the collapse of space. But Emperor Shi's seal was different, the energy level was quite high, and once it was used, it could cause the collapse of space. In any case, Kang Shinmu and the others had the protective crystal given by the Supreme Dragon Shadow, which could protect them 5 times in the Void Crack battlefield. Of course, it might be 4 times. Kang Shinmu brought everyone out of the Experience Points Exchange Office and said to the 4 of them, "Before going to the Void Crack battlefield, let's try out the effects of the protective crystal first. This protective crystal should be a one-time use." Xiao Yuhua was a little worried. "If we want to try it, isn't it a little too wasteful?" "I don't think so." The girl in the white dress calmly analyzed. "Kang Shinmu is right, we should try it. Although the Supreme Dragon Shadow said that this protective crystal can protect us once, we don't know what effect it has, and we don't know what form it takes. Anyway, we have a total of 5, why don't we test it first and see what the situation is? There are a total of 5 chances to save our lives. Even if we lose one, it's still better than being flustered the first time we encounter danger and getting wiped out." The girl in the white dress's view was the same as Kang Shinmu's. Anyway, they had a total of 5 life-saving chances. If this life-saving chance was certain to be effective, then it didn't matter even if there was one less life-saving chance. Anyway, Kang Shinmu felt that they shouldn't be so unlucky as to encounter danger 5 times in a row in the Void Crack battlefield. As long as it didn't exceed 5 life-threatening situations, these protective crystals were completely enough. "That's true, then I have no objections." Xiao Yuhua thought about it and nodded. She also felt that they wouldn't be so unlucky to encounter danger 5 times in a row. It couldn't be like what the girl in the white dress said. If they got flustered the first time they encountered danger and made a mistake, then they would all be finished. After all, they had 5 protective crystals, there was no need to take the risk. "Then let's use this protective crystal of mine for the experiment." Liang Xiao stood up and said with a smile, "I'm the weakest, let Xiao Yuhua attack me and see if she can activate the protective crystal's effect." "All right." Everyone nodded. Anyway, when they went to the Void Crack battlefield, the 5 of them would be moving together, so it didn't make much of a difference who they used. Soon, the 5 of them left the Experience Points exchange office and went all the way to the central square of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. This square was where the Academy tournament would be held. Usually, some dragon martial artist students would spar here. Since there's no one around, let's take this opportunity to try. Seeing that the central square was empty, Liang Xiao immediately turned into a dragon and flew to the center of the central square. Xiao Yuhua didn't waste any time and directly turned into a dragon and attacked with Phoenix Dance burning the 9 heavens. Liang Xiao's guess was right. Liang Xiao was relatively weak, so the Laughing Language Flower's attack posed a threat to his life. After the Laughing Language Flower launched its attack, the body-protecting crystal directly exploded, forming a layer of water moonlight defensive barrier that spread to a radius of 15,000 meters around Liang Xiao. When Xiao Yuhua's Phoenix Dance burning the 9 heavens attack hit the protective crystal's defensive barrier, it immediately dispersed and disappeared without a trace as if it had encountered a layer of space barrier. On the protective crystal's defensive barrier, there wasn't even a ripple, showing how powerful its defensive ability was. Amazing! This is a defense with a radius of 50,000 feet. Before all 5 of us reach the level of Dragon Emperor Blood Essence, it can completely protect all 5 of us. Liang Xiao laughed. Although he had used up his protective crystal this time, it didn't matter. After all, Kang Xinmu and the others still had 4 with them, which would be enough for them to use when they went to the Void Crack battlefield. The protective crystal's defensive range was quite wide, and it was enough for them at this stage. Chapter 44-59. To Kang Xinmu and the others, the protective crystal was enough to protect them. Moreover, even the power of the Laughing Language Flower could not leave a mark on the protective crystal's defensive barrier. It was evident that the protective crystal's defensive strength was reliable. Since the Supreme Dragon's shadow said that it was an unparalleled defensive power, it shouldn't have been killed by ordinary void demons. In that case, let's go to the Void Rift battlefield. Kang Xinmu did not have any worries after testing the protective crystal's power. He immediately decided to set off. In the sky above the Dragon Martial Continent, above the layer of clouds, separated by a supreme barrier, was a boundless void. In the distance, it was densely packed with stars, but in the near distance, it was a large, empty area. Being in it, one would feel a sense of loneliness. At this very moment, there was a crack in the void not far away from this void. The space around this void rift was distorted. It was the place where the void demons had invaded. No one knew where these void demons came from. However, the danger they posed was obvious. If they weren't kept outside and controlled near the spatial crack, once they invaded the Martial Dragon continent, the entire continent would be plunged into misery and suffering, and countless people would be killed or injured. The students of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies became the first line of defense against these void demons. However, when Kang Xinmu arrived at the Void Rift battlefield, he realized that the students of the Dragon Martial Academy were not the only dragon martialists fighting against the void demons. The Void Rift battlefield. This was the Dragon Martialists building located 10,000 miles away from the Void Rift. It was a huge disc that was built from a pitch-black material. From afar, it looked flat. This was the front line of the Dragon Martialists fighting against the Void Demons. All the Dragon Martialists who participated in the hunt for the Void Demons would use this disc-shaped Void Rift battlefield as a base to replenish their supplies. So this is the Void Rift battlefield. I didn't expect it to be a flat disc-shaped building. Liang Xiao, Xiao Yuhua, and the others were surprised and emotional when they saw it. I see. Kang Xinmu observed the place carefully after arriving and found that the disc-shaped building was divided into 2 sides. One side was the base of the 4 Great Dragon and Martial Arts Academies. Here, Jiang Xinwu could be a student of Emperor Shi's Dragon and Martial Arts Academy and find the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon and Martial Arts Academy. He could rest and train there, and he could even exchange for some training resources and deal with demon hunting points. On the other side of the disc-shaped building were some Dragon Emperor powerhouses from the Dragon Martial continent. These Dragon Emperor powerhouses could come and go freely. They were from the Dragon Emperor Kingdom of the Dragon Martial continent. Many Dragon Emperor Kingdom had come to this place to fight against the Void Demons. For these Dragon Emperor powerhouses, there was no way to improve at all if they stayed in the Dragon Martial continent. There were too few treasures that contained Dragon Mark energy in the continent. And this Void Crack battlefield was an excellent opportunity for them. Like the students of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies, these Dragon Emperor powerhouses could obtain a certain amount of demon hunting points after killing the Void Demons. They could use demon hunting points to exchange for treasures that contain Dragon Mark energy, as well as some cultivation treasures that could not be found in the Dragon Martial continent. For them, although coming to the Void Crack battlefield was dangerous, it was also the only chance for them to improve. Who would be willing to give up such an opportunity? It could be said that all the Dragon Emperor powerhouses in the Dragon Martial continent already knew about this and had made arrangements. As for themselves, there was a 90% chance that they would come to the Void Crack battlefield to fight. Of course, it was impossible for them to stay in such a dangerous place. Most of them would come to form teams to hunt some Void Demons and exchange for the cultivation resources they needed. Then, they would return to the Dragon Martial continent to cultivate for a period of time. They could come and go as they pleased, so it attracted many Dragon Emperor powerhouses to come and try. Unfortunately, the battle on the Void Crack battlefield was too intense, and there would often be powerhouses from the Void Demons suddenly appearing, catching the Dragon Martial artists off guard and causing them to suffer heavy losses. Basically, there were Dragon Emperor powerhouses dying near the Void Crack battlefield every day. And the Dragon Martial artists who could survive and had the ability to hunt enough Void Demons were increasing their strength at a speed that was 10 times or even hundreds of times faster than before. Those Dragon Emperor powerhouses were now the vanguard and main force against the Void Demons. Without them, the students of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies would not have been able to stop the invasion of the Void Demons. After all, the students of the 4 Great Dragon Martial Academies, the number of powerhouses in the Dubhe district and the Tianxian district added up was only slightly more than 100. Many of them had already died. How could they fight against the entire Void demonic race with such a small number of people? Up until now, the number of Dragon Emperor powerhouses from the Dragon Martial continent who participated in the battle had already exceeded 1,000. Even if some of them only came for a short period of time and went back to cultivate, they had still made great contributions to the Dragon Martial continent. The Void Demons could be said to be endless, appearing from the Void Crack. Basically, there would be a batch of them rushing out every month. That was the time when the situation on the Void Crack battlefield was the most severe. Basically, the reward of demon hunting points would be doubled at this time, because the danger of hunting Void Demons at this time was several times higher than usual. When Kang Shinmu and the others arrived, it had already been more than half a month since the last time the Void Demons rushed out. In other words, there was only half a month left until the next wave of Void Demons, about 10 days. In about 10 days, if Kang Shinmu could not properly equip himself, he might not be able to hunt enough Void Demons to obtain enough demon hunting points, double demon hunting points. I must seize this opportunity. And the prerequisite is that I must maximize my strength before the opportunity comes. Kang Shinmu brought the 4 of them directly to the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. What surprised them was that the dean, Yu Yaji, was actually personally handling matters in the office. At the same time, it could be considered as guarding the Void Crack battlefield. Kang Shinmu, I heard that you are coming. When Yu Yaji saw Kang Shinmu, she was not surprised. It was obvious that the Supreme Dragon's shadow that appeared above the Beast Abyss had already communicated with her. Yu Yaji was quite happy to see Kang Shinmu. Chapter 4460. Kang Shinmu was rather flattered. He did not expect Yu Yaji to personally receive him at the Void Rift battlefield. Without a doubt, his status was rather special. Even in the 4 dragon academies, there had never been a dragon martial artist like him who could fight above his level. Because of this, the Supreme Dragon's Shadow paid so much attention to Kang Shinmu and even gave each member of his team a protective crystal. Under Yu Yaji's lead, Kang Shinmu quickly learned about the new treasures that could be exchanged with demon hunting points in the Void Rift battlefield. Of course, many of them could be exchanged in the Dragon Martial Academy, but it was cheaper to exchange them with demon hunting points here. The demon hunting points and experience points were the same, so the points that Kang Shinmu had obtained in the Beast Abyss were converted to demon hunting points in the same ratio. The demon hunting points could be exchanged for about 50% more ordinary treasures than what could be exchanged with experience points in the academy. Without a doubt, this was a free profit for Kang Shinmu and the rest. Even if he used them to exchange for some treasures that contained the energy of the dragon mark, Kang Shinmu would be able to devour the energy within and break through to the 7th level of the Dragon King, the Divine Dragon Blood Essence grade. And there would be quite a lot left. Of course, after coming to the Void Rift battlefield, Kang Shinmu realized that it would be too much of a waste of demon hunting points to exchange for those treasures. That was because there were many precious treasures that could be exchanged here that could not be exchanged in the Dragon Martial Academy. The energy of the dragon mark is not too urgent for me. My current battle strength is already comparable to that of a powerhouse of the Dragon Emperor's level. So there's no need to rush. I can exchange for other cultivation resources first to further increase my battle strength. Kang Shinmu thought to himself. He first set his eyes on a type of treasure known as the Rising Dragon Marrow. For dragon martial artists, this was the key material for the dragon martial artist to break through to a higher level. As everyone knew, the dragon martial artist's dragon martial techniques could be divided into 4 levels: human, earth, dragon, and heaven. Reaching the heaven level was basically the peak. However, this was under the condition that he had not obtained any further cultivation resources. If one could obtain the ascending dragon marrow, then one of the heaven-grade origin dragon martial skills that a dragon warrior cultivated could break through to a higher level. Above the heaven rank was the saint rank. The purpose of the ascending dragon marrow was not to allow the source dragon martial technique to break through to the martial saint tier, but to mold the bone marrow of the dragon martial artist, allowing the dragon martial artist's bone marrow to become closer to that of a natural divine dragon. In this way, he would be able to get closer to the divine dragon's origin. Thus, he would have the possibility of breaking through the origin dragon martial technique to the martial sage level. Void dragon raising the heavens break. There is no need for me to make a breakthrough in this dragon martial technique. But the chaos dragon body, Kang Shinmu had always admired the chaotic dragon body. Although this origin dragon martial technique came from the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, its effect was quite good. Among the body tempering dragon martial techniques, it had a very outstanding effect. The key was that after cultivating the chaotic dragon body, a dragon martial artist would have a strong resistance to all kinds of elemental powers. If it was an ordinary dragon martial artist, the effects would not be particularly obvious after cultivating. However, Kang Shinmu was different. He had the innate ability of devouring. By devouring the opponent's power, he could further increase his resistance to the opponent's power. The effects of the two stacked together and could produce an extremely special effect, making Kang Shinmu like a steel fortress, incomparably hard. For example, when Kang Shinmu was in the Beast Abyss Nether Sea, he was able to directly contend against the terrifying strange fish demon emperor, who was at the 6th level of the Samsara realm. He had relied on the stacking effect of the two. It could be said that if the divine dragon tyrant body technique did not have the ability to switch between the 3 postures, then the divine dragon tyrant body technique's improvement to Kang Shinmu's physical strength would not even be comparable to the chaotic dragon body. It was precisely because of this that Kang Shinmu was immediately tempted when he saw the ascending dragon marrow. The ascending dragon marrow was the standard resource for powerful dragon martial artists. To many dragon emperor mentors, it was not considered too precious, but to obtain it, a certain amount of points was required. As for Kang Shinmu, the demon hunting points he had obtained from killing the 6th level of the Samsara Realm Demon Emperor were really not enough to exchange for one ascending dragon marrow. I have to kill at least 2 more opponents like this before I can exchange for one ascending dragon marrow, Kang Shinmu sighed. He could only put the ascending dragon marrow at the back of his mind and not think about it. After all, the demon hunting points required were a little too much, and he could not afford it now. However, the ascending dragon marrow was not the only good thing in this Void Fisher battlefield. The divine dragon weapon was a good thing that Kang Shinmu paid more attention to. This was a powerful dragon weapon above the heaven-grade dragon weapon. In terms of power, it was at least twice as powerful as a heaven-grade dragon weapon. The key was that as long as he had a divine dragon weapon, he would be able to sense the aura of the divine dragon more clearly. This was because every divine dragon weapon was condensed from the power of a real divine dragon. If it was a divine dragon weapon that was compatible with the dragon martial artist, it could even directly increase the strength of the dragon martial artist by several times. With a divine dragon weapon, the improvement of the divine dragon blood essence would be faster than before, and the speed of comprehending and cultivating dragon martial techniques and breaking through to the next realm would be much faster than before. This was the most important invisibility effect of the divine dragon weapon. It was a pity that to exchange for a divine dragon weapon, he needed more demon hunting points than the ascending dragon marrow. For the time being, Kang Shinmu could not consider it. Other than that, there was the divine dragon martial technique. If the origin source dragon martial technique was the innate skill of a real divine dragon, then the divine dragon martial technique was a powerful technique that even a real divine dragon had to cultivate to be able to use. Every move of the divine dragon martial technique was an extremely terrifying move. It was several times stronger than a high-grade origin source dragon martial technique. These were all good things that Kang Shinmu did not know before. Now that he knew, it was a pity that he did not have enough demon hunting points. Therefore, he could only settle for second best and choose some resources that could temporarily increase his strength. For example, the body parts of the prehistoric tyrant body beast could be used to cultivate the divine dragon tyrant body technique. Of course, it was impossible for Kang Shinmu to break through to a higher realm within 10 days. Therefore, Jiang Shenwu still planned to exchange for some heaven and earth treasures to raise his cultivation realm to the next level. If he could reach the 8th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm, then his strength would increase again, and the Void Fisher battlefield would be even safer. Chapter 44-61. After arriving at the Void Rift battlefield, Kang Shinmu did not plan to cultivate in seclusion. Not long after he arrived, he learned that void demons would rush out of the Void Rift once every month. He knew that he did not have much time left. Every time the void monsters attacked, although it was dangerous, it was also a great opportunity. On one hand, there were many void demons. On the other hand, killing void demons in the next 10 days would give him double demon hunting points. In other words, killing one was equivalent to killing two. Kang Shinmu did not want to miss such an opportunity. Hence, cultivating in seclusion was too wasteful for him. Since his strength could not increase too much in a short time, Kang Shinmu did not plan to cultivate in seclusion. He would first experience the next void demon's attack. There were still 10 days left. Kang Shinmu planned to devour natural treasures to increase his cultivation level while observing the situation on the battlefield. He wanted to adapt to the situation in case it was too urgent and he could not adapt. He exchanged some cultivation resources with Yu Yaji and left with the 4 of them. The 4 of them did not have enough demon hunting points to exchange for anything useful. They could only save up and exchange for more in the future. Even if Kang Shinmu had the ability to devour all the natural treasures, it would not allow him to reach the 8th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Moreover, Kang Shinmu did not have the time to return to the Dragon Emperor Yen to make a breakthrough. Hence, they went to the battlefield just like that. However, before they officially set off, they still went to the other side of the void disk. Those who could come here were all Dragon Emperor experts of the Dragon Emperor country in the Dragon Martial continent. Perhaps there were also a few dragon monarchs who brought their talented heirs here for the sake of obtaining more demon hunting points to improve themselves. Although they did not belong to the 4 great dragon martial academies, the rules for obtaining demon hunting points were the same as the students of the 4 great academies. There was no difference, and they were not discriminated against. However, at the same level, the Dragon Emperor powerhouses were naturally not as powerful as the students of the Dragon Martial Academy. Here, Kang Shinmu saw many dragon emperors above the 7th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. Although the strength of these dragon emperor powerhouses wasn't much in the same realm, they were older and had cultivated for a long time. Their cultivation base was basically higher than the students of the Dragon Martial Academy. At least, most of the Dragon Emperor powerhouses here were not people that Kang Shinmu could contend with. Hence, they did not come to the Void Rift battlefield to die. In fact, many Dragon Emperor elites could hunt down many void beasts to gain demon hunting points to improve themselves. However, their talents were limited. Even if they obtained the same demon hunting points as the Dragon Martial Academy students, they would not be able to improve as much as the Dragon Martial Academy students. The Dragon Martial Academy students would be able to absorb 40 to 50% of the same treasure. However, these Dragon Monarch powerhouses could basically absorb 30% of it, and that would already be very good. It was also because of the limitations of their talents that the Divine Dragon Inheritance blood essence of these Dragon Monarchs were stuck at the bottleneck of the Dragon Monarch realm. They were either at the 1st or 2nd level, and even the 3rd level of the Dragon Monarch was rare. Even if they exchanged for resources that contained Dragon Mark energy, it would be useless. If they could not break through the bottleneck, no matter how many cultivation resources they had, it would not be enough. During the stroll, the Dragon Emperor powerhouses, as well as some seniors from the Dubhe district and Tianxian district, were a little surprised when they saw Kang Shinmu. Some students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy even greeted Kang Shinmu and asked about the general situation. After all, the students now knew the dangers of the Void Crack battlefield. Very few people would take the initiative to come to the Void Crack battlefield before reaching the Tianxian district. Even if Kang Shinmu could challenge those of a higher level, his cultivation level and the grade of the Divine Dragon Essence blood were too low. Logically speaking, with his cultivation level, it would be difficult for him to reach the Tianji district. Now that he actually came to the Void Crack battlefield, some people felt that he was playing with his life. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that Kang Shinmu had obtained the protective crystal from the Supreme Dragon's shadow, even he himself would feel the same way. After strolling around the void disk, he did not encounter anyone who came to look for trouble. The students from Donghuang Yangwu College only looked at him coldly from afar when they saw him. Obviously, these students from Donghuang Yangwu College still cared about Kang Shinmu. After all, Kang Shinmu had defected from Donghuang Yangwu College. Now that Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy had obtained such a great achievement, it was undoubtedly a humiliation for the entire Donghuang Yangwu College. He actually came to the Void Demon Hunter battlefield so early. He's simply courting death. I'd like to see how many void demons he can kill. You don't say. If he's lucky enough to survive, the rewards he will obtain will be much better than what he obtained in the Beast Abyss. Many people began to discuss in private. Kang Shinmu could not be bothered with them. Anyway, as long as they did not provoke him, he did not care what they said. As long as he was strong, he did not care what they said behind his back. All the rumors would collapse on their own. Kang Shinmu swallowed all the treasures of heaven and earth that he had exchanged, but he had not absorbed them yet. He planned to slowly absorb them over the next 10 days. Anyway, it was impossible for him to break through in such a short time. Then, he brought the 4 of them together and prepared to go to the void disk to familiarize themselves with the surroundings. Let's go. Chapter 4462. The endless starry sky was filled with the remnants of the aura of void demons. Occasionally, the howls of some void demons could be heard from the void not far away. Kang Shinmu and the other 4 transformed into dragons and flew out of the void disk. They discovered that around the void disk, there seemed to be a few supreme mystical dragons working together to build a boundary, sealing off the space around the void chasm. As the void chasm was too large, the defensive strength of the boundary was scattered, and the overall strength was not too strong. Any supreme void demonic creature would be able to blast a hole in this defensive barrier. However, it was said that no supreme void demon had appeared yet. At most, it was equivalent to a super mystical dragon-level demon marshal. Once a demon marshal appeared, Yuya Ji, Zhou Xiaofeng, and the other deans would have to make a move. At the same time, Kang Shinmu also heard that the old patriarchs of the hidden dragon martial artist family had come to the void disk to hold the fort and face the enemy together. This time, it could be said that the entire dragon martial continent had joined forces to face the enemy. Once the void demons truly invaded the dragon martial continent, it would be a disaster. And now, they were still blocked in the boundary around the void chasm. With just the strength of the void demons, they could not rush out for the time being. Therefore, the void disk was safe, and so were the surrounding spatial zones. Only after entering the boundless barrier would they encounter void demons. Inside the boundary, Kang Shinmu and the other 4 became vigilant. The remnant aura of the void demons here was too strong, as if countless void demons had died here. Looking at the translucent and incomparably vast supreme barrier in the void, Jiang Shenwu thought to himself, I'm afraid that when the void demons first charged out, they must have engaged in a great battle with the supreme dragon god and super dragon god here. Ordinary void demons are naturally not their match. Even if there were thousands of them here, they would be reduced to ashes in one move. Kang Shinmu sighed. The strength of one's strength was too important. With his current strength, he was just like cannon fodder here. Of course, his growth potential was great. As long as he grew, he would be able to stand alone in this void chasm battlefield. The 5 of them entered the Supreme Spirit formation together. He could vaguely sense the fluctuations of battle coming from the vicinity. There were other groups of dragon warriors moving together. There were dragon emperors from the martial dragon continent, as well as students from the Heaven Core and Heaven Jade districts of the 4 great academies. In the darkness, everyone carefully moved forward, planning to find a void demon to practice on. According to intelligence, the void aberrations that are roaming outside are basically members of the scout squad. They're fast, agile, and have a special way to transmit information. Once they discover us, we might have to face even stronger monsters. The previous wave of void monsters that charged out of the void rift hasn't been completely exterminated. Aside from the leader of that group, there are still quite a number of void monsters left. They're purposely giving us a chance to train. Laughing Language Flower began to talk about the information she had obtained from the void disk. It's not just for us, right? Liang Xiao smiled. There are quite a number of void monsters. Even if it's a super dragon god or a supreme dragon god, they wouldn't have the energy to kill them all. They can only leave it to us. That's right. Seniors most likely have other things to do. Kang Shinmu turned to look at the Supreme Spirit Formation. Just like this Supreme Spirit Formation, it was basically impossible for anyone other than the Supreme Dragon God to create. This was a Supreme Spirit Formation that spanned tens of thousands of miles. The void chasm was incredibly vast. If they could not wrap it up, the void monsters would be able to reach the protective barrier of the Martial Dragon Continent. Then the Martial Dragon Continent would be in grave danger. Restricting the void aberrations to a small area near the void rift was the best outcome. The void monsters that charged out at the beginning might be wandering around in the surrounding space, but the small number of void monsters would not be able to cause much trouble. The 4 academies basically only organized a small team to exterminate the void monsters. The most important thing was the void disk, which sat outside the Supreme Spirit Formation and guarded the void chasm to ensure that no more void monsters would charge out. Kang Shinmu and the other 4 flew into the depths of the Supreme Spirit Formation. The nightmare ink beast seems to be very useful in such an environment. Kang Shinmu looked at the surrounding pitch-black environment and suddenly thought of something. Without a doubt, in such a pitch-black environment, if the nightmare ink beast wanted to hide, no one would be able to discover its existence at all. And now, the nightmare ink beast seemed to be helping Kang Shinmu and the other four conceal their auras. Although it could not completely conceal them, it could at least reduce the distance that their auras could travel by several times. In this way, the probability of them being discovered by the Void Monster Patrol was reduced to 1/5 of the original. On the contrary, under such circumstances, Kang Shinmu's senses were extremely sharp. It was very likely that he would be the first to discover the Void Monster Patrol. Isn't that Kang Shinmu? Suddenly, before Kang Shinmu and the others encountered a void monster, a surprised voice suddenly came from the side. Kang Shinmu's expression changed slightly. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw two familiar faces at a glance. Luo Han and Su Qin. Luo Han and Su Qin were originally Yuheng District students of Donghuang Yangwu College. But now, their strength seemed to have improved by leaps and bounds. They had reached the level of the Dragon Emperor's inheritance blood essence, and had broken through to the first level of the rebirth tribulation state. Moreover, their respective dragon martial techniques must have improved greatly. Otherwise, they would not have appeared in this place. After all, this place was basically a place that students who had reached the Heavenly Jade District could come to. In addition to Luo Han and Su Qin, there were 3 other students of Donghuang Yangwu College walking with them. They were also a 5-person team training in the vicinity. When they met, Luo Han and Su Qin greeted each other with some surprise. "You guys know Kang Shinmu?" The other 3 students of Donghuang Yangwu College seemed to be stronger than Luo Han and Su Qin. When they saw Kang Shinmu, their expressions changed slightly. Obviously, they did not have a good impression of the name Kang Shinmu. "We've crossed paths before." Luo Han nodded with a somewhat complicated look on her face. "It's better for us not to come into contact with such a treacherous person." One of the black-clothed women looked at Kang Shinmu and said lightly. Not to mention, in this supreme boundary, he turned into a dragon and flew away. He simply does not know how to write the word death. Hearing her words, Luo Han and Su Qin's expressions became even more complicated. Obviously, they still had a good impression of Kang Shinmu. Unfortunately, in the current situation, they could not catch up with Kang Shinmu. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.